Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Carrie Linklater, and I am your chairperson today. And I am joined on the panel on my far right, Mr. Robert Malenke, and to my immediate right, Mr. Jerry Arnell. Our assessment officer today is Eric Goche, and our administrative secretary is Mr. Jaswinder Kumar. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparison of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decisions by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items from 3 to 17 today on our docket. And Mr. Kumar, could you please affirm the assessment?
Yes. Assessor, please state your full name.
Eric Goche.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Thank you. Complete state. So applicant, please state your full name.
Mark Newman.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Complete state.
All right. Before we begin, 117 Mapleton Drive, we are going to move to the end of our docket. Thank you. And 44 Victoria Crescent. We are also going to move to the end of our docket. And that takes us to 234 Lamont Drive, Lamont Boulevard. And good morning, Mr. Newman.
Good morning.
And Mr. Goche, if you'd like to start us off on this property.
234 Lamont, okay. The subject property is roll number 10002737000, commonly known as 234 Lamont Boulevard, located in the neighborhood of Old Tuxedo. It's a one-story single-family home built in 2009. It's 1,843 square feet, living space above grade, has a full basement with no basement finish, 2 full baths, no half baths. We have 1 extra shower on file, central air conditioning, 1 fireplace. We have an attached single garage at the rear and a multiple attached garage at the front, is my understanding. We have no detached garages, no pools, and no sunrooms. It's located on a standard size lot for Old Tuxedo, about 9,954 square feet. We have the 2023 assessed value proposed at $1,050,000. Today, I'm going to present 4 comparables. I wish they were all in Old Tuxedo, but unfortunately they're not. So the 4 comparables I have, as far as locations, I have some that are located in Tuxedo, some that are in South Tuxedo, and comparable number 3 is in Old Tuxedo. They're all 1-story single family dwellings. The year builds, unfortunately, they're older homes. It's unusual to find an infill of this size in that area. So I've had to use homes that were constructed between, say at the low end, 1951 I have, and at the high end, 1983. Effective age, so you'll notice we have quite a bit of effective age on the comparable properties, which means they've been renovated. That ranges between 2000 and 2013. Square footage, pretty tight range here. The low end 1732 square feet, all the way to 1995 square feet. They all have full basements. An important note here is that they all have basement finish. The subject is not. Full baths range between 1 and 3. Half baths range between 1 and 2. Extra showers range between 1 and 2. They all have central AC. Fireplaces range between 1 and 2, or 0 and 2, sorry. They all have multiple attached garages other than comparable 3 as a single attached garage. There are no detached garages. Note that comparable 3 has a pool. I have a note here that's constructed in 2006, so it is an older pool. We have no sunrooms on any of the comparables. Land size is in a very tight range here. At the low end, 9,747 square feet, and at the high end, 10,389 square feet. 330 Hosmer Boulevard has an external corner influence. The sales range, like between all the sales are in 2018 or 2019. The sale prices range between 900,000 at the low end and 1,025,000 at the high end, giving a sale price per square foot range of I'm gonna round here, $490 a square foot to $580 a square foot. The time adjusted sale prices, so in other words, to bring these to our reference date of April 1st, 2021, the range there is 976,000 to $1,110,000, giving us an adjusted price per square foot of a range between 531 the low end and 628 a square foot at the high end. My recommendation is to maintain the assessed value of $1,050,000. The assessed value was actually originally set at $1,179,000 by our model. It was subsequently revised downward by one of our valuation staff. Note that the comparables have basement finish and the subjects do not. So a negative adjustment of about $35,000 is warranted on the comparables. Note the comparables 1, 2, and 4 require, and there's actually a mistake in my brief here. I did some more research, and the adjustment for not being an Old Tuxedo is more in the likelihood of $300,000 to $325,000. So it's quite substantial. I would have preferred not to venture out of Old Tuxedo, but I had no choice here because the house is a smaller home for the area. So you won't find very many 1,800 or 1,500 square foot bungalows that are newer in Old Tuxedo. It's really a one-off here. So there's a huge location adjustment needed on these other comparables. And I've indicated some land sales below to justify this huge location adjustment. Like I said, I would have preferred to have comparables in the neighborhood and not have to go down that road. But it's important to note, as a matter of fact, not only for this one, but others that will be on the docket today. So I've included some land sales in Old Tuxedo so that you have an idea. But long story short is your typical Old Tuxedo lot is about 10,000 square feet. Value is about 750K. There's been sales for over $1 million on the larger ones. But I've listed 105 Gurdon, 209 Hansard, 132 Gurdon so that you can see. Keep in mind 132 Gurdon and 209 Hansard are a little bit older sales, so they would require a pretty substantial time adjustment. But it gives you an idea. And then I have land sales in Tuxedo and South Tuxedo. So you can see there the land value is probably closer to 4 1/4, depending how you want to, if you want to average it out or if you want to. But I have 3 sales there basically showing you, these are just raw land. So it's a great indication for a location adjustment. So once these are adjusted properly, I think our value, my honest opinion is our assessed value, maybe even a hair low. I want this panel to know that I've done some review and that the subject property over here is definitely not built to the standard of what you would typically see in the neighborhood. If my memory serves me correctly, I think it's a KDR home. So, you know, it's a nice quality home if you're familiar with KDR builders, but it's not what you typically see in the neighborhood. So this house would actually benefit from what's called the principle of progression. So it's the principle that basically the houses around you buoy your value. So when you have the smallest, lower valued house on the block and you're surrounded by homes 2 million, 3 million or more, this can actually boost your value quite a bit more. I can't really give you a number on that. These are really hard numbers to extrapolate, but I can promise you that when you're at the top of a neighborhood, top of a value range of a neighborhood, the houses around you will drag your value down. When you're at the bottom of the rung of a neighborhood, like the subject property, the houses around you will buoy and increase your value. And whatever you do to that home, as far as renovations, additions, you'll get it back versus the other way around. So I haven't factored that into the value. I just want everybody to know that the location is extremely important here. And that'll be all for my presentation at this moment. So any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Newman, did you have questions of the assessor?
I do. Mr. Gauthier, I assume you've not inspected the subject property?
I have not. I've gone over the building plans.
Yes. Did you look at photos on file?
I think maybe in your evidence, I went through some photos.
Right. Because an assessor has been in this house before, I will tell you, with me. So I'm wondering if you looked at those photos.
I think a few years back was noted that, so basically what I've indicated to the panel earlier here, that the quality of construction is, it's a KDR home, so I'm quite familiar. I add new construction. That's my primary job in the city of Winnipeg. So I'm very familiar with KDR, and I know it's not up to par with the majority of, but as far as builders are concerned, KDR is maybe not the best of the best. They're not tract home builders either, kind of in the middle of the road. So I would compare it to a Huntington, KDR, yeah, something along those lines, but it's not a Randall or a Broadview here.
All right. And I thank you for all that, but my question was really much simpler than that, but thank you for all of that information. So let me ask you this. You call the area Old Tuxedo. Why is it called Old Tuxedo?
That's a good question. Probably because it's, I mean, when someone asks me about Old Tuxedo, I have my boundaries in my head, right? You've got Tuxedo Boulevard, you've got Corridon, you've got Park. And for whatever reason, I tell you the land values in there are much, much higher than Tuxedo, or actually anywhere that I could think of in the city of Winnipeg.
So, do you agree with me that as you come north from Wellington Crescent, what I'm going to call the first block, which is between Wellington Crescent and Manton, that tends to be older homes, many of them built in the 30s, many of them much larger and on larger lots.
The larger lots in Old Tuxedo are usually in the middle of the pack or closer to the park, or yes, closer to Wellington. Those would be we're going to be looking at a property today, 19,000 square feet of land. So yes, those.
And as you go south from Nanton towards Corden, what you eventually get into, I'll suggest to you, is a large number of homes that are on more or less 10,000 square foot lots, which are mid-50s bungalows. You agree with that?
Disagree with that.
You
I
disagree.
would say if you were to do a count in Old Tuxedo, the type of homes, mid-50s bungalows is probably the toughest type of house to find in that neighborhood.
But that wasn't.
We're not talking Windsor Park here, right?
Just listen, please. That wasn't my question. My question was, as you go south from Nanton and get towards Corden, would you agree that many of the homes closer to Corden are mid-50s bungalows?
You might be able to count them on one hand.
Okay.
Not many. And I would suggest that from the subject property, they could throw a stone to houses that are twice the size, that are 2 to 3 times the value.
Yeah.
So,
And again,
so
Mr. Gauthier,
I don't want to paint a picture that Old Tuxedo is a bunch of bungalows
all right,
built in the 50s, because it's not. And anyone who drives down there will see that clearly,
all right.
or anyone who knows the neighborhood.
Mr. Gauthier, we can be here a long time, and it's not my objective. So if you focus on the question I'm asking, I think it'll be helpful to all. Now, the homes, when you move to the south side of Corden, in the first block, so north of Cuthbertson, I'm going to suggest to you, between Corden and Cuthbertson, many of the homes along those streets are also mid-50s bungalows. Do you agree?
I'm not sure why it's relevant to this case, because we're talking about Old Tuxedo here, but I would suggest that there's probably a better likelihood of finding those type of homes south of Corden. Yes, I agree.
And you did find comparables not only south of Corden, but also south of Grant, correct?
That's correct.
And when I look at your comparables, I note there are no 2020 sales.
Correct.
Were you not able to locate any?
Well, I would rather use sales that check off the most amount of boxes as far as being comparable. And to be honest with you, I would have preferred to stay in Old Tuxedo. I really don't like venturing out. But you know, I'm not gonna, typically you're looking at a 3,000-4,000 square foot 2-story home in Old Tuxedo. So I'm not gonna use that, right?
Again, my question was simple. Did you not find any 2020 sales of bungalows?
I have a very specific process on how to find comparables. I plug in very specific size ranges, date ranges, and I try my best to find what's the most comparable.
Okay.
I would have loved to find 2009 infills in Old Tuxedo that meet all the boxes that were built by KDR, but the reality is I picked the best that I could come up with.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you another question. In your workup, you have a section, the large section in the middle of the document called building description. That's the heading.
Building type, building description, yes.
The heading is building description, and then below that come building type, building code, year built, etc.
Correct.
Are those all the characteristics that are considered relevant for the panel to assess the value of the home?
Are you asking if our model would consider other variables that are not listed here? Is that your
No,
question?
I asked you, are these all the characteristics that you considered relevant for the panel to determine the value of this home?
Yeah, it's our standard brief. We put the nuts and bolts of what we believe is important here.
Okay, thank you. I noticed there's nothing about the number of bedrooms. Is that not important?
So I've been questioned about this several times through, I did private appraisals for years, sold real estate, and all of my research every time I even recently did a research in Bridgewater, 2-bedroom homes, similar size to 3-bedroom homes. And I was actually shocked to find out that 2-bedroom homes sold for more. And I thought, well, this is strange. I don't understand this. And then I started thinking about it. And bottom line is ask yourself who's building 2-bedroom homes and who's building 3-bedroom homes. And then you come back to your answer. And the answer is always adding more bedrooms doesn't necessarily translate to adding more value. So if you have a 4,000 square foot home with 20 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, right? Value is probably similar.
So are you telling me ultimately, you're telling us ultimately that you don't consider it relevant?
Our model doesn't, and every time I've done research and been questioned on it, I've been shocked to find out that it's basically irrelevant. Unless you get into a 1-bedroom home that has a dysfunctional layout and no possibilities of adding a bedroom in the basement, you start getting into the weeds there, then yes. But other than that, no.
All right. And is decoring a home a relevant factor in what a home will sell for?
Absolutely. I sold real estate for many years. A vacant home with poor decor, it gets hit hard every time. There's no doubt about that.
And did you and there is no building characteristic in terms of decor, correct?
No, but it'll translate through the sale price. I mean, most people try their best to not show a house, especially in a neighborhood like this, to show a house in a vacant, desperate, like people will hire, their realtors will usually hire a staging company. It's pretty rare we see a desperate situation. There are estate sales and that sort of thing. But for the most part, people try their best to spruce things up to sell.
So homes that show better will sell for more.
Sure, I'm not going to argue that. That's common knowledge.
You make the comment at the in the recommendations section, first page, that an adjustment should be made of $35,000 for the absence of basement finish in the subject. Correct.
That's correct.
And do you believe at April 1 of 2021, the basement could have been fully finished for $35,000?
Well, cost doesn't always translate to value. So my research and market value for a standard, when I do these type of adjustments, I generally use a standard basement finish. About $30 a square foot is your typical adjustment. If you get into walkout basements, wet bar, this, that, the other, super high quality stuff, it can go higher. It can go more like 50 a square foot.
So let's look at your page 2. That's your map of your comparables. And we see Cordon. So the area north of Cordon is what you would term as Old Tuxedo, correct?
Correct.
And then we see the area between Cordon and Grant.
Tuxedo.
And that's called Tuxedo. And then you've got the area south of Grant, which is called South Tuxedo.
That's correct.
Okay. I've heard some people call it Old Tuxedo, Middle Tuxedo, New Tuxedo.
So have I. Yeah.
All right. And then your last page. What you're doing here is trying to establish a higher value of land in Old Tuxedo, correct?
Well, what I'm trying to basically show this panel here is there's a dramatic difference between values and land value is what gives you your indication on location. So someone asks you for a location adjustment, you can do two things. You can stick your finger in the air and make up a number, or you can extrapolate market data. And I'm doing second, which is basically saying the market data is showing me that land, just raw land, just keep it simple because these houses are all very different. So if you're trying to compare an apple to a pineapple and extract a location adjustment is quite difficult, but raw land will give you the number you're looking for.
And so all the land sales in Tuxedo or South Tuxedo, those were actually vacant at the time of sale, correct?
For the most part, there are a couple, they opened up, I think, I'm going off memory here. There's a new cul-de-sac on, I think it was Ike Crub. So that one there, I believe that was developed into kind of a cul-de-sac with pie lots, and some of them unfortunately backing onto traffic. But for the
simple question, were they vacant at time of sale?
I believe Ike Crub was, Kelvin, I don't think so, and Avonlynn Court, I don't think so.
Have you looked at the photo online of 519 Kelvin?
No,
Did you see the for sale sign on a vacant piece of property?
I look at the sale as, so if you're gonna mow down a house, you'll notice here I haven't added any value to mow down a house. But if you're getting to what does it cost to mow down a house, I can tell you what that is too.
I'm not.
Somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000.
I'm simply asking if the three sales in Tuxedo and South Tuxedo were all vacant at the time.
I have to check our records,
Fine.
but if they weren't, you can tack on at least 30 grand to mow down a house.
Thank you. The sales in Old Tuxedo, those were all sales of property with homes upon them, correct?
Typically, yes.
Yes. Okay. So the Old Tuxedo sales are not vacant land. What the buyer bought was a lot with a house upon it. The buyer bought improvements, correct?
Incorrect. So what happens is this. A house reaches the end of its useful life. And the value is in the lot. People buy them with the intent. So in appraisal theory, if someone purchases a property and the intent is to mow down the house, it is considered a valid land sale. That's what we use. There's no just magical pieces of land left in Old Tuxedo that are vacant that go for sale. You have to mow one down.
Again, my question was a simple one. Were there homes upon the Old Tuxedo lots at the time they were sold?
Absolutely.
Did the vendor expect to get paid for the vendor's improvement upon that property?
Well, some of them get sold on the MLS, you know, building lot, do what you want, like.
Thank you, Mr. Coaching.
That's all your questions,
That's
Mr.
all my
Lane.
questions.
Thank you. Mr. Belenky, did you have any questions of the assessor?
No questions for the assessor.
And Mr. Reno?
No questions.
Just have one. Did you have any of the MLS listings for your comparables?
MLS listings for comparables. I do. I have them here, yes.
Okay, can you just quickly go through the descriptions?
Do you want the realtor remarks and the public remarks for all of them?
Just the highlights if you can.
The highlights, okay.
I'm just interested in finishing some.
There's like full paragraphs of description, but we can go through it.
Okay, just quickly, just the highlights, it's fine.
If it will assist,
Yes,
my brief attaches the listings and I intend to make reference to them if that will expedite matters. And if Mr. Gochi wants to add something after that, I have no issue with that.
okay,
I think the salient points with these comps is that they're renovated, they're older. Our effective age shows that. The comp number 3, 221 Granville, which I think might be the best comparable, that one was renovated in 2011. So 2 years after the subject property was built.
okay,
The rest were renovated. So imagine 1950s, 1975, 1980 home, but done up. So kitchens, baths, everything done up.
great, okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Newman is going to expand upon that.
I believe
when
so,
he gives
yes.
evidence. Okay, thank you. So just one more question. This property was built in 2009 and I'm assuming it was inspected then or soon after.
Typically we would, yeah, when a new infill goes in, we would do at the very least an exterior inspection.
Okay, and do you have any notes on that inspection?
Well, Mr. Newman mentioned it a few years ago, and to my recollection, a few years back, maybe this property was appealed, and there are notes from one of our assessors that it's a KDR home. Basically, what I showed in my brief, that it's not your typical Old Tuxedo, like blow your socks off house, for sure. Like I said, I'm familiar with the builder. They're not a track home builder. They're sort of a middle of the road. So that was noted on file.
Okay. Sorry, and I do have a third question. Under your recommendation, you're talking about that the value was originally at 1.179 and it was revised downward by your valuation staff.
Correct.
But that's not just the basement finish, correct? So I'm just
No, nothing to
wondering,
do with the basement finish. So,
right, so
So
can you?
well, I can expand on that,
Thank
sure.
you.
So what happens is before we mail out people or property owners, their assessed value. We do general flagging where we basically say, okay, like if any properties went up more than the norm, we need to look at them to see if this is supported, if this makes sense. And sometimes you'll pull one up and, oh, it went up 40%. Well, they added a huge addition, they gutted the house, so that makes sense. So we have comparables. So one of my jobs is as an assessor is we actually review these before we send out something that could be a mistake or could be a one-off, or maybe we can't support the value. So one of our valuation staff had noted that the property went up substantially, which is actually normal for Old Tuxedo. We have probably most of the neighborhood flag. Upon review and upon reading the notes of the previous assessor, we pulled up comparable sales and looked at it and thought the value was a touch high. So it was manually brought down to $1,050,000 by one of our staff before we mailed out the assessment notice,
Okay,
or the preview letter, I should say.
all right, thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Newman, if you would like to proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. And what I want to do is I don't want to jump you around in the brief. So the way my brief is set up is there's some text at the beginning, which tells a bit of a story. I'll tell you the story first, and then I'll take you sequentially to all the attachments, so I'm not jumping you back and forth. 2009 home, it's 3 houses to the north of Cordon, surrounding areas similarly bungalows. Assessor says, no, it's not primarily bungalows. I'll show you 2 pictures. I didn't go street by street, but I have driven every one of these streets. There are 6 bungalows just in the 2 sides of the street I'm giving you. Because what happened in Old Tuxedo is development started nearest the Crescent and it worked north. And when you go to Nanton, the first cross street, everything north of that tends to be older homes, larger. There's been construction since, I absolutely agree. It's a desirable area. I absolutely agree with that as well. But development petered out and didn't get going again until the mid-50s, early 50s approximately. And the first 5 or 6 houses north of Cordon generally are mid-50s bungalows, about the size of what we're talking about here. That type of development continues into the first block south of Cordon up to Cuthbertson. And again, it's not universal. I'm not telling you every house is a mid-50s bungalow, but there are a lot of them in that area. The point I'm making to you simply is there have been different types of development in that part of Tuxedo. I also agree with the assessor that it's not easy to find this type of home in that part of Tuxedo. And so he went south of Cordon. Indeed, he went south of Grant. I went south of Cordon as well. I found sales in 2020, which I'll show you in a moment. So now I'm on to the second page of my text. I was using a slightly different square footage, which I found on the city's website of 1,828 square feet. It makes a slight difference in the value at either 574 or, as the assessor has it, $569 a square foot. You know about the house, 9,954 square foot lot, 2 bedrooms, fully unfinished basement. I'll show you photos in a moment of the subject property. The decor is dated and dark. I suggest it would not show well, and I'll show you photos of the comps, which I suggest would show much better and hence a higher value. No pool, no updates since construction in 2009. The assessor and I did communicate, just so we're clear. And so I'm going to show you comps in August and October of 2020. So then my comps, 221 Grenfell. As the assessors noted, it's a very significant renovation. We'll look at the listing in a moment. It talks about over $1 million being spent. You'll see the photos. It's a modern contemporary design. It's time adjusted to 628 square feet. Home's approximately 100 square foot smaller. It's got a pool. It's got a finished basement. It's got 3 full and 1/2 bath. Significant adjustments would be required. Renovations completed approximately 2012. 415 Laidlaw. So this is now we're south of Cordon. It's an October 2020 sale, time adjusted at $403 a square foot. Slightly larger, 2,575 square foot bungalow on a 12,993 square foot lot, but it's 1959 construction, 2 full and 1 half bath. Then we have 101 Mountbatten. So again, when you're in what I'm going to call Middle Tuxedo, so north of Grant now, you've got 2 streets that run east-west. One is Cuthbertson, that's the northern of the 2. The second one is Mountbatten. So this one is on the corner of Mountbatten and Laidlaw. It's a 1,795 square foot bungalow on 11,413 square foot lot. It's a 2018 renovation. It's an August 2020 sale. It's a contemporary home in all respects by virtue of the renovation. And then another sale on Laidlaw, August of 2019, 1,828 square feet on a 10,400 square foot lot, 3 full baths. So the comparables reveal a range of 403 for 415 Laidlaw to 628 at 221 Grenfell. All the comps have finished basement. The closest comps in terms of time are 415 Laidlaw and 101 Mountbatten, selling in August and October of 2020. In terms of appearance and decor, 221 Grenfell and Mountbatten are the most similar to each other, contemporary design and color. Again, we'll look at the photos. The subject is dated and dark and would not show well. Both Grenfell and Mountbatten have finished basement. The subject has only 2 baths. Each of Grenfell and Mountbatten have a combination of 3 full and or half. The subject only has 2 bedrooms. Each of Mountbatten and Grenfell have 3. So adjustments are going to be required. Ultimately, I fixed upon a value of $500 a square foot, which brings value to $914,000. And so that we're clear, the 2020 assessment is $780,000. And so I would be increasing that by $134,000. Let me then turn to my page 6. That is the spreadsheet. It contains much of what I've just described to you. But again, if you look at the bottom of what is page 6, you can see the sales July of 19, October of 20, August of 20, and August of 19. You can see the sales prices. But then let's start now to look at photos. Page 8 is a photo of the subject kitchen. You can see the very dark decor in the cupboards and in the flooring. And again, the assessor has been fair by saying it's a KDR home. It's not quite to the standard you might expect to see in Tuxedo. And it's not, frankly. It's been built on the cheap a bit. Page 9, this is the main bathroom. Not very ornate. Page 10 is the second bedroom. That is not a full-size bed you're seeing in that photo. This is a small room. Page 11 is the laundry room. I point out the color of the tile. Page 12 is the ensuite washroom. Again, not terribly ornate. Page 12 is a photo of the dining area. Page 14 is the unfinished basement, about which there's no agreement, but that's plywood floor down there. And page 14 says ensuite. In fact, it's not. It's the entrance to the garage. So page 15 is a photo of page 15 and 16 are photos of the surrounding area. And again, to the assessor's point, handful of bungalows only in Old Tuxedo. If you look at the top photo, the subject is the extreme right. The middle house is a bungalow. The house to the left of that is a bungalow. You can see them a little better in the lower photo. If you go to the next page, now we're looking at the other side of the street, the east side of Lamont, across from the subject. To the right, a bungalow. Across the street, a bungalow. To the left, a bungalow. So we've got 6 bungalows just in this area of 3 homes north of Gordon. There are bungalows all over this area. Okay, so then page 17, now we've got the listing detail. And you can see in the public comments, it talks about an over $1 million renovation by Paul Cantor and David Solomon. I know of Cantor to be a well-known home builder contractor. David Solomon is an interior designer. So a lot of time and money was spent on this home. But if you look at the photos, and you know that the proverbial picture is worth 1,000 words, you can see a very modern decor in this home in terms of the color scheme. It's light, it's white. You know, look at the exterior of the home in the top left photo, the living room area. Again, color scheme throughout, fireplace, the kitchen, the white cupboards, all much more desirable. There's a gym in the lower photo, and that's the basement area you see developed. So significant basement development to a high standard. And then on page 19, again, that's another bedroom in the basement in the upper left-hand corner. The other thing this homeowner has done is they've created a covered exterior porch, and that is what you see in that fireplace is within the exterior porch area. And then the last photo, you can just see the edge of the swimming pool. But again, it's well finished and well designed. So I think this home would show quite well. And that's that property. Page 20 is 415 Laidlaw. Again, slightly larger home, 2,575 square feet, slightly larger lot, middle tuxedo. And you know, again, if we look to the photos, bit of an older style home in terms of the coloring, darker flooring, but you can see that this is a well-kept home. And down in the, so you can see the, well, let me work down from the top. You've got living area on the main floor. These homes look out onto a large backyard rather. We'll see some of that in a moment. You can see the kitchen in the middle set of photos. Again, light coloring in terms of cabinets, what appear to be hardwood floors, the washrooms, and then over onto the page 22, you can see the backyard development, very well landscaped, very nicely done. And everything you see on that page, including the washroom, is in the basement. So again, a highly developed basement finish. And again, as well, the last photo, a covered porch area. And then there are actually some larger photos, larger versions of these photos, which make it a little easier to see the quality of the finish in this home. Again, you know, not built in 2018 or 19 or 12. It's an older home, but it is well maintained and well upgraded. And that is what is common in a lot of these tuxedo homes, frankly, is people spend money on them. They've invested in their homes. So you see the quality of the finish and the quality of the home. Then if we can jump ahead to Mountbatten. So Mountbatten is a sale in August of 2020. Substantial renovation done on this home beginning in 2018, 1,795 square foot bungalow, completely redone. You know, again, if we look at the photos, you can see a large lot. It's a corner lot, so it's a little bit bigger. I'm on page 30 now, but you can see, again, the quality of the finish, very contemporary design in terms of the color schemes, and it's going to show well. And the assessor fairly acknowledges that if a home shows well, it's going to sell for more. So that's the Grenfell property, or sorry, the Mountbatten property. And again, page 32, some larger photos to give you a better visual of this property. On page 33, you can see a large kitchen area, very well done. And then you go bedrooms on page 34, as well as a washroom. And then you get into the lower level, which you see on page 35. And again, a very highly developed lower level, which is simply going to add value. And then page 36, the backyard areas, and as well at the top left on 36, a washroom in the basement. And then Finally, in terms of my comparables, 406 Laidlaw, 1,828 square foot bungalow, little older, admittedly. And again, you see the photos starting on page 39. And again, look, we all have different tastes. I get it. We all will, some of us will like something, others will not. My point simply is all of these homes are well maintained. They've been upgraded. They've been improved. You look at the color schemes on page 40. Again, they are the color schemes that I think are more in demand and are going to show better and sell better. You get to page 41 in the middle photos. You've got basement development in the left-hand middle photo. You've got a workshop area in the basement. And then page 42, you've got extensive landscaping. I also attached, because again, the assessor and I were communicating and he made me aware of what the comparables would be. And so I've attached photos of them as well. At page 44 are photos of 83 Coleraine, which is in the newest part of Tuxedo, south of Grant. And again, look at the color scheme, look at the quality of the decor compared to the subject. So from my perspective, it's not a surprise that it will sell for more. 54 Folkestone, middle Tuxedo, again, older home, but again, look at the photos on 46, upgraded, contemporary color scheme, quality home, I'm going to suggest, and 330 Hosmer, page 48, photos again, upgraded, maybe not to the same level as the others, but that's what we've got. So look, this is a difficult process. I understand that. And this is all very subjective. I understand that as well. I think the assessor is very much focused on the concept that this is old Tuxedo and it's got to be worth a pile more. And he brings to us the land sales and says, look how much more they sold for in old Tuxedo, to which I say, that's not what the vendor was selling. The vendor was selling their improved lot with a house on it. That's what those sale prices represent. And so the concept of a $300,000 adjustment to the subject property because it's located in old Tuxedo, 3 houses off the cordon, seems to me a bit excessive. So at the end of the day, the task you're left with is to sort through all these comparables. Again, I recognize it's not easy. I have selected $500 a square foot. I believe the subject does not compare as well to the comparables. I think it does not compare as well to 221 Grenfell for a whole variety of reasons. And subject to questions, that's my submission.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Did you have any questions? Mr.
I had a
Goche?
couple, scratched a few, but because they were answered. Were you aware that 101 Mountbatten, one of your comparables, suffered major structural problems? This was disclosed in the 2015 MLS as underpinning was done to stabilize the structure. Knowing that material latent defects, whether repaired or not, must be disclosed in the property disclosure statement, do you think this could have had a material impact on the selling price of that comparable?
They fixed it.
Yeah, it still has to be disclosed.
They fixed it. I watched them do it actually.
I crashed my Porsche, got written off, and I fixed it. And now I'm asking you to pay full price for it. So I think it did have an impact. Thank you. I have 3 KDR homes here that are built in our reference period, same quality, at about $300 a square foot. So if you were to build with KDR and purchase a plot of land in Old Tuxedo, you'd be at 1.3 million. If you want to depreciate the dwelling 20% because it's dated, as you say, we're still coming in at 1.194.
Excuse me, Mr.
My
Goche.
question is, would you agree?
Excuse me, Mr. Goche.
Yeah.
You're introducing evidence and this is just for questions. So
Would you agree that a cost approach is relevant here, seeing as our comps, like we both agree that the comps are difficult to establish the value? Would you agree that a cost approach, even depreciating the dwelling, would be a relevant and important way, knowing that it's a recognized valuation method of appraisal?
I don't believe it's a recognized method for homes. I've never heard of a home being valued on the cost approach. except for insurance purposes. So my answer to you would be no.
It's one of the three AIC appraisal methods: income approach, cost approach, and comparable. It's actually required in every single appraisal I've ever done in the private sector. And it's extremely relevant in this case.
Is that a question or are you telling me?
I'm asking a question. Do you think it's relevant or not?
I have already said to you, I do not.
Yeah, the question's been asked and answered. So we
Okay.
can move on.
Thank you. That's all my questions, actually.
Thank you. Mr. Blanking, did you have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Renaud?
No questions.
Mr. Newman, I did not see anywhere on your brief. What is your request on this?
So it's at the bottom of page 5. $500 per square foot, which comes to a value of $914,000.
914, thank you. And I think you had stated earlier that you were in the property.
Yes,
Yes. And did you also state that an assessor was with you at the time?
Doug Strachan inspected the property with me.
Okay, and what year was that?
Last cycle,
No, I think it might have been for the 16 cycle.
I can actually.
That's fine, Mr. Gauthier. All right, thank you, Mr. Newman.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on to 202 Hansard. Before we proceed, Mr. Newman, do you know what your time is like?
I expect they're going to be long there because we're dealing with parking structures.
Okay.
And Ms. Scheibel is the assessor in that room. And I'm sure there will be lots to say on both sides.
Okay.
Perhaps the clerk or the secretary.
Yeah, I asked Belen and she said that we are almost done, but yeah, we will move your items to the end.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you. And I will be quicker on this one.
it's fine. Thank you. Mr. Gauthier, if you'd like to proceed with 202 Hansard, please.
Subject property is roll number 100028740000, commonly known as 202 Hansard Boulevard, located in Old Tuxedo. A 2-story single-family home built in 2017. We have 3,966 square feet of living space above grade, full basement, no basement finish, 2 full baths, 1 half bath, 2 showers, central AC, 1 fireplace, a multiple attached garage, a multiple detached garage. We have an in-ground pool, no sunroom. It's located on an unusually large lot of 19,836 square feet on an external corner. We have the 2023 assessed value at $2,166,000. I'm presenting 4 comparables today. The first comparable is located in Old Tuxedo. The second one is in Tuxedo, or as Mr. Newman would refer to, Middle Tuxedo. Third comparable, Old Tuxedo, and the fourth comparable a little bit north of there in the Wellington Crescent area. They're all 2-story homes, single-family dwellings. The year of construction varies between 1964 and at the high end here, 2020, so recently constructed. Effective ages range between 2014 and 2020. Living areas range between 2,933 square feet at the low end to 4,628 square feet at the high end. Basements are all full basements. Note that all the comps have basement finish. Bathrooms range between 1 and 4, or full baths. Half baths range between 1 and 5. Extra showers range between 1 and 4. Central AC are present in all the comparables. They all have 1 fireplace, a multiple detached garage. None of them have any detached garages. In-ground pools are present in comparable 1 and 2 only. No sunrooms in any of the comparables. Land ranges between 8,029 square feet and 12,995 square feet at the high end. As far as influences, we have external corner and park on Aldershot and internal corner influence on Cordova. The sales took place in 2019 to 2020. Sale prices range between 1,825 at the low end to 2,900,000 at the high end, giving a sales price per square foot range of between 434 square feet to 627 a square feet. Time adjusted sale prices range between 1,977,000 to 3,016,000. Time adjusted sale price per square foot. The range there is 470 a square foot to 731 a square foot. I'm asking to maintain the assessed value of 2,166,000. Note that the subject property features an extra large lot. I'm not sure what exactly the value is of it, but it's there. Also note comparable 2 and 4 would require an upward adjustment. Here again, I wrote 150,000, but after further research, it's actually closer to 300,000 as they're not located in Old Tuxedo. And this adjustment that I'm suggesting here is not, there's no adjustment for the extra land size. As Mr. Newman will indicate, it's not subdividable at this point, but it still provides an extra large lot. Also note that in 2018, a pool was added and a hot tub. So we had on the permit the pool at 55 grand and the hot tub at 8 grand. That's cost and not necessarily market value, but keep that in mind. Comparable number 1 is without a doubt superior in quality, and a large downward adjustment is definitely warranted. Like I said, I prefer if I can find infill in Old Tuxedo to use it. That's why it was used. But I definitely know that it is higher quality. But even if you want to adjust that one $500,000 downwards, 500 grand goes a long way in improving the property. That's pretty much it for my presentation, other than the land sales that kind of already gone through in the past here, showing that what I believe to be a fair adjustment for location based on market data. Thank you. That's all for my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Did you have questions of the assessor?
So in terms of the land sales, same land sales as in the last hearing, except you've added 3 in the Wellington Crescent area.
Yeah, I have, because one of my comps is in Wellington Crescent, so I had to take a look and see if there's anything required there.
And similarly, each of these sales in the Wellington Crescent area at the time of sale had a home upon them, correct?
Typically they do, yeah.
Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Belenky, did you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Mr. Arnell?
No.
Just one quick question. Your comparable 4 on Cordova Street, I'm assuming you included that due to its square footage?
Yeah, the fact that it was 2014 construction, 4,200 square feet. It's not physically that far from the subject. That's the reasons why I selected it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Newman, if you would like to proceed with your presentation.
What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to take you to the pictures and the attachments first. And so if we go to page 6, and I apologize for this, the spreadsheet, which appears on page 6 and actually continues through page 10, did not get compressed into a single spreadsheet as it should have. So I apologize for that. Let's skip past that though, and let's go to page 12, and let's start with a photo of the house. So page 12 is a photo of the house. It's on the corner of Nanton and Hansard. It's on the southwest corner, and you can see the view. The top picture is the view from Nanton, and then the lower photo is the view from Hansard. There are then some photos of the home. The interior, page 13. Page 14 is the unfinished basement. Page 15 is the garage, which is also unfinished in the sense that there is not drywall within the garage. There does not appear to be any insulation. Page 16 is a photo of the family room. Page 17 is a photo of the kitchen with the dining area. So there's a bit of a story to this home. And the story is that the people bought this house, which admittedly has a big lot. And the assessor talked about there being a detached garage. And it's true, there is. Because on the detached garage belonged to the home that was there previously that was built in the mid-30s. And I actually was in the old home before it was demolished. Because someone I know wanted the rads out of the house. And I happened to know the builder because they were old style rads from a mid-30s home. So I'm familiar with the garage. The garage was left there. That is the single detached garage. I suppose it's usable for storage, but it's not used for vehicles. What went on is these people tried to subdivide the lot. They wanted to keep their home on a 77-foot lot and then split off a second 75-foot lot. The neighborhood revolted. It was one of those scenarios where they organized. They had posters printed. They put posters up in front yards. They came out en masse to the appeal hearing before the City of Winnipeg committees, and they couldn't subdivide it. It was refused. And so what you see at pages 18 through 21, 22 actually, is the story of the attempt to subdivide the house, subdivide the lot, and the refusal. The consequence is that the house, if you go back to the photos of the house at page 12, nobody would build a house in the north corner of the yard if they felt they could use the rest of the yard. The bottom line is they didn't situate the house very well on the lot, considering the fact that they now cannot sell the rest of the lot. That's not a selling feature, I'll suggest. Yes, admittedly, it is a big lot, but the house is pushed into the north corner, the northwest corner of the lot, and that's not the ideal scenario. So let me walk you through some comparables, and some of them are the same comparables as the assessor, some of them are different. 218 Girton is a comparable the assessor does not have. So this is to the north of Corden. This is a home that was built in 2018 or so. It's a sale in September of 2019. So it's a new home, which sold for $1,275,000. And again, I'm not going to bounce you around, but it's on the chart. And what the chart tells us is that the time adjusted sale price for this is $405 a square foot. Now, this is admittedly a much smaller lot, about half the size of the subject lot, but somebody's built a big home on this lot. Then my second comparable, and there are photos, so you're coming back to 218 Girton, there are photos. And again, you can see one of the things you may have noted when we looked at the photos of the subject property is no hardwood floors, no wood finishes on the floors. It's completely tile. The owner tells me 3 young boys in the house, a decision was made. We're going to put in something very durable that won't suffer the effects of wear and tear. It won't present as well from a selling perspective, but that's what they did. Page 24 shows you 218 Girton. It shows you the decor and the color scheme and the wood finishes. So again, I would suggest to you superior from that perspective. Then I've given you a couple of homes that are not as new, but I've given them to you because of the lot size. So 139 Grenfell is a large lot. It is 15,000 square feet. It's a 1935 built home, so absolutely it is an older home. But when you look at the photos, what you see is what a lot of people would describe as a character home. Some people like that, some people don't. I get it. And again, I'm giving it to you primarily because of the size of the lot. It would need an adjustment, I readily acknowledge, and I'll come back to what I've done. But you see in the photos on page 28, the decor of the home. You see that the kitchen is a modern kitchen. Admittedly, the cabinets are darker. Some people like that, some people don't. We go through cycles in decoration, of course. You see in the middle of 29, there's an office area that's clearly newer. You see what I'm going to call the back mudroom. The left middle photo, again, that's clearly newer in terms of the wood finishes, looks like maple and pine. And again, you see the living areas, the hardwood floors, the character of the exposed ceiling beams. You either like it or you don't. I get it. Page 30, there's a modern washroom, the upper right-hand corner, jacuzzi tub, shower in the middle. Lower photos on page 30, basement finish, clearly upgraded in the basement. Those are the stairs coming down. So that's 139 Grenfell, and that's got a sale price of $394 a square foot in May of 20, time adjusted. And again, I readily acknowledge because of age, there needs to be an adjustment. But again, I gave it to you because the lot is similar in size. Then 39 Nanton on page 32, again, older home, 1936. Consistent with what I said to you earlier, the homes running up to Nanton are frequently bigger on larger lots. So this is a sale price of $1,400,000 with a time adjusted value of $389. That's in November of 2020. It's on a 19,500 square foot lot, a corner lot on Nanton, like the subject. So very similar in terms of location, can't be closer. But again, it's an older home. But again, if you look at the photos, look at page 33, character home again, same type of style, exposed beams. Look at the character windows. Again, some people like that. Some people want new. I get it. It would require an adjustment. I readily acknowledge that. But you see the additional photos on page 34. Then on page 35, 646 Wellington Crescent. So here's a home built in 2005. So a little bit older than the subject. A two-story, 3,480 square feet, 11,775 square foot lot, so a little bit smaller, but it sold in May of 2020, and it sold at $351 a square foot. Is Wellington Crescent better or poorer from a value perspective than Old Tuxedo? I don't know. We can debate that, but that's what it sold for. And again, you see on page 36, you see the photos. Again, a contemporary home in terms of the coloring, hardwood floors, white cabinets, very modern kitchen we see in the photos on page 36. Basement development, we'll see the photos on page 37, large yard. Then we get to, and the other thing I did, again, to make it easier, is I put some of the assessor's comparables in. So one of his comparables is 217 Lamont. This is a home that he said would be superior and would require adjustment. I absolutely agree it is superior. That's why I wanted you to have the photos. So if you look at page 39, you can see the photos. This is a very ornate, well-done house. Look at the stone floors. Look at the wainscoting and the vaulted ceiling. Very, very superior home, I would suggest, in terms of the quality of its finish. Look at the photos on page 40. Again, very contemporary kitchen. And then towards the bottom of page 40, you see the basement development, significant, substantial basement development. So, and again, I agree with the assessor, a much superior home. And we see as well on page 41, there's a pool for this home. 232 Hansard, another one of the assessor's comparables. And again, I just want you to see the photos. Page 43, again, this is built 2018, very contemporary construction. Look at the color schemes, look at the quality of the finish. More photos on page 44. And then Aldershot. So Aldershot is middle tuxedo. And, you know, again, this was a house actually that was under construction. And so you don't actually see photos of the home. This was the listing of a home under construction. But it's got a second kitchen. It's got a full second kitchen in the basement. It's got a heated 4-car garage. Again, a superior home in terms of quality of finish. And then page 47 and following, that is 28 Cordova. These are photos of 28 Cordova. And again, you can see very contemporary, very modern, high quality of finish, I'll suggest to you. So what do we have here in the end? Now let me take you back, and I'll be brief and I'll be complete. Let me take you back to this property. So the 2020 assessment is $1,525,000. I'm on page 1 now. It's proposed to increase to $2,166,000, a $641,000 increase, a 42% increase. Not surprisingly, the owner took gas when they saw that number, and that's what brings me here. Again, admittedly, a large lot. I accept that completely. I think as we get into larger homes with higher values, we need to be careful about time adjustments because there's a smaller pool of buyers for larger homes. So I don't know that they move in the same progression from a time perspective, time adjustment perspective. But what I'm going to say to you, and then I'm going to take you to the chart on page 6, what I'm going to say to you generally is that this house is of inferior quality to the assessor's comparables. And that's why I wanted to provide you with the photos. I agree, admittedly, as I said, that the Grenfell and Nanton properties are older. And again, I gave them to you primarily because of the size of the lot and the location. And if you look now at page 5 of my submission, so those two older homes on Grenfell and Nanton sold for a value bracketing $390 a square foot. 218 Girton sold for a value, and that's a new home, very similar in size, 3,407 square feet, sold for a value of $405 a square foot, again, admittedly on a smaller lot. And so what I've done is I've taken those 390s for Nanton and Grenfell. I've taken the 405 from Girton. I said they've all got to be adjusted upward in terms of value. And so I brought it to $460 a square foot, which translates to $1,824,000 compared to the $1,525,000 in 2020. So that's an increase of approximately 20%. Again, the chart on page 6 through 10, and again, I apologize, this should have been on a single page. It would be much easier for you to use, but you can see the spectrum of values. And the bottom line is the assessor's comps. He said, yes, let's make an adjustment for superiority for 217 Lamont. I think you have to make an adjustment for all of them. And so I put us at 460, the value, the assessment's at 546. That's my submission.
Thank you. Mr. Goche, do you have any questions?
Oh, yeah, a couple. So 218 Girton, the first comparison, suffers from serious negative influences, namely heavy traffic from Old Tuxedo, a 17-story high-rise apartment block peering down on it, light pollution from a busy shopping retail center. Are you aware of any other reasons why it might have taken 2 years to market and sell that property other than negative influences?
Well, for a significant period of that time, it was under construction. That's part of the reason, because it was brought to market while it was under construction. And I acknowledge it's on Girton, but it's on a portion of Girton where there is visibility to Tuxedo Boulevard. I acknowledge that.
Okay. 139 Grenfell suffered from serious foundation issues. We received a permit from Avalon Construction in 2009 to excavate, brace, and repair the foundation. To be fair, you wouldn't really, most people would not be aware of this. But given that this material latent defect would have to be disclosed to the buyer, and the house is 87 years old, I'm just wondering why that comparable was selected.
Well, as I said, it was selected primarily because of the location and the size of the lot. In terms of the basement work, as you noted, Avalon repaired all that. And yes, it may need to be disclosed, but it's been repaired.
Okay. 39 Nanton sold as well with no property disclosure statement. I think it was in the realtor remarks. So we call that an as-is sale. And do you think that may have had an impact on the selling price?
Can't answer that.
Don't know. 646 Wellington is located across from a hospital and a stone throw away from a busy overpass and bridge and intersection. Also there, do you think that might have any impact on why it took over a year to sell that house?
Well, how long something takes to sell can sometimes be a function of an asking price and the stubbornness of the vendor relative to that asking price. I acknowledge that it is further east along Wellington, but it is some distance still from the Academy intersection.
Thank you.
Mr. Belenky, did you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Arnold?
No other many.
And I also have no questions.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, everyone, for your accommodation, Mr. Goki.
Best of luck next door.
We are going to take a 10-minute recess at this point.
Yes, thank you. Realignment here.
Thank you.
We are going to resume the hearing at this time. We are moving on to 117 Mapleton Drive. Good morning, sir. If you would like to.
Yes. Step again, please stand up. State your full name.
My name is Chan Peng Perlati.
Okay, do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Sorry, I don't-
The evidence you are going to produce here is the truth to the best of your knowledge. Is that right? Thank you. You can please sit.
If you would like to start us off.
The subject property is roll number 0500421690, commonly known as 117 Mapleton Drive. It's located in the neighborhood of the Maples. It's a bi-level single-family home built in 1976. We have a significant effective age on it, 2003. The living space above grade is 974 square feet, has a full basement with basement finish, 2 full baths, no half baths, no extra showers, no central air conditioning, no fireplaces. We do not have any attached garages. We do have a detached multiple garage, no pools, no sunrooms. It's located on a plot of land that's 5,997 square feet. We do have bus, external corner and light traffic influence. Our 2023 assessed value is proposed to be 340,000. Presenting to you 4 comparables today. They're all in the Maples other than comparable 3, which is in Mandalay West neighborhood close by. Bi-levels, all of them, single family homes. They're built between 71 and 85. Effective ages range between 1972 and 1992. Square footage range is between 899 square feet and 1,096 square feet. They all have full basement. All of the comps have basement finish. Full baths range between 1 and 2. Half baths range between 0 and 2. Extra showers range between 0 and 1. Central AC is present in all of the comparables. Comparable 1 and 4 and 3 have fireplaces. There's a multiple attached garage on comparable 3. There is a multiple attached garage on, or detached garage on comparable 2 and comparable 4. No pools on any of the comparables. Note that comparable number 1 has a sunroom. The land is a pretty wide range here for land. The low end 6,048 square feet, at the high end 11,877 square feet. 3 of the comparables have influences noted. Comparable 2 has bus and light traffic. Comparable 3 has a commercial adjacent influence, and hydro lines for the comparable number 4. The comparable sales took place between 2018 and 2020. The sale prices range between 300 and so pretty tight range between 336,000 and 360,000, giving a sale price per square foot range between $307 a square foot to $400 a square foot. Time adjusted sale prices ranges between 346,000 and 375,000. Giving a time adjusted sale price per square foot range between 342 a square foot all the way to 400 a square foot. My recommendation is to maintain the current assessed value of 340,000 for 2023. Note that the home was extensively renovated in 2020 due to a major fire that took place in 2019. A new 15-foot by 18-foot deck was also added recently. We did a full inspection in May 2022 to close the permit on the fire repairs. That's all for my presentation. Any questions?
Thank you. Sir, did you have any questions of what the assessor has just presented?
In my mind, like when I come here today to ask the board about like to survive. I'm 67 years old, and I left my job since 2015 because of personal health.
Okay, sir, I'm just going to stop you here because you do have time to give a presentation, but right now it's just questions to the assessor of the information he has just provided. And that's fine if you don't have questions, but the panel will.
Okay, I come here today just come to ask if possible, you can drop my price at my property price, because in the future.
Okay, so that will come after, but he has just presented 4 properties that are comparables to yours. So if you had questions on that, but if you don't, that's fine.
Only thing I want to say is I've been my house been removed fireplace because it caused by damage by the water. So that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Bolinky, did you have questions of the assessor?
I have no questions of the assessor.
Okay. Mr. Arnold?
Just the major fire, like with windows, just internal, the roof, or what was?
I think it was, and maybe we can get the the appellant to confirm a little bit more on that, but we have 200,000 declared construction value. So if you ask me on a house this size, that's a full blown top to bottom inside. But judging by the picture of the exterior, I don't know that anything was necessarily done too much on the exterior, but this is a substantial renovation.
Yeah.
Mr. Goche, you said there was an inspection done in May of 22.
Correct,
Okay,
to close the fire permit.
okay. Were you part of that inspection?
No, one of my colleagues on the inspection.
Okay. Do you have any notes on that inspection?
I'm gonna summarize them because we kind of write in shorthand jargon here. It's basically, we had adjusted it downwards due to the fire. So they made the changes, changed the effective age, which I had mentioned. The owner had confirmed they moved back into the home. That's basically it. So they didn't really note anything about necessarily the level or quality of construction, but based on the permits that I have, the full in and out top to bottom, but maybe the appellant can give us a bit more detail on that. But basically, it's just that they went there for the fire permit and we changed it from, so we basically have a tool where we can change something to land value if it suffered a major fire. So we were converting it back to now it's good, now it's fine, now it's fixed and renovated. So that's basically what my colleagues know.
So no notes on the finishings.
The quality of finishing.
Thank you. Sir, it's your turn. If you would like to give us your presentation on your house.
Compared to like before fire, they estimate my property. It's 280,000, right, by that time. And after that, 2020, after that, like I know that is year by year. And after they finished renovation, and my tax they recall from 2021 at last this year 2022, it cost me the whole thing is over 3,000, like from last year and this year they recall, so I have to pay them. And the since that lady just went there to inspect again at the, I don't remember what month is it. May 2022. And later on, after she went there inspect, later on she told me that the 2023 my property value is going to be up to 340,000. So I feel in my mind, I feel it's very high for me for that area. And I look at the neighbor around, the one in front of my house or beside the house, not much different. And I asked them, or even 120 Mapleton. I compare, I think his house might be bigger than mine. Then the price it might be different. So that's why I come here to ask the board to drop the price for my property as possible, or whatever the board gonna find out. Because to me it's very hard to survive. I live on my old age and my CPP. I make they gave me 1,200 something a month, compared to if I take off over 3,000 a year for property tax. Add up over $600 insurance and my bills. So it's very hard to survive.
Okay,
That's all I come here to ask.
okay,
No, I have no further question.
okay, thank you. Mr. Goche, did you have any questions?
The only question I had was, as far as when they came in to fix the house after the fire, was the level of construction similar in quality to what you had previously? Or is the quality better now than it was prior to the fire?
I found out the ceiling is cracked and one corner on the east side, on the road side and east side, its corner seems it's leak. And I told them to go and fix it. They didn't, and it cracked. You can see, look like it's leak. I took a picture and I showed them. They never come. One guy just phoned me, this contractor. He said, "Oh, I stopped by, but I've been waiting for over 5 months. Nobody showed up." And I phoned them back last week. They said, "Oh, okay, we'll look at it." Till now, I didn't have no answer. And once at the May, last May, the vertical fascia at the
Roof, yeah.
on the roof at the west side fly out, and one is hanging down with noise, and we have to climb up there at 5 o'clock in the morning to get it down to fix it, and I have to pay somebody else to fix it because on around just nailing everything on around. I'm afraid it's gonna fly away and land into somebody's head, and I may be problem. So
Okay, so you're not happy with the way things went, I guess. Anyway, that's all the questions I had.
Thank you. Mr. Blanken?
No questions. I don't have any questions.
Mr. Arnold?
No, I don't have any questions.
Sir, so your current assessment is sitting at $340,000. And what is your request today?
I have no idea because I just come to ask the board to drop the price. If compared to like a couple of years before, the estimate is 280,000, right, by the time, and seems it jumped from the 2,280,000 to 340. I feel it high, and beside that, if the price is high, my property set for me up. It's gonna be very hard for me to survive. And the difference is I think it's jump up too high. And I knew it's in the house. I seen only they put the high efficiency on my furnace. I knew furnace.
Okay. That's all my questions, and thank you very much for coming this morning.
But I appreciate that whatever the board can figure out or can.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
We do.
Bye for now.
Bye. Good morning, Mr. Neufeld.
Hello.
We are going to move on panel to 18 Emerald Grove. Mr. Neufeld joining us from Zoom. Yeah, Ms. Fenton.
Mr. Neufeld, please state your full name.
Rocky Neufeld.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You?
Thank you.
Sorry, and just to speed matters along, is the first one concerning me for 18 Emerald Grove?
Yes, yes, it is.
We're just going to request that be confirmed.
Okay, thank you. But the assessor is still going to read in the roll information. Mr. Coach, if you'd like to proceed.
The subject property is roll number 0708006800, commonly known as 18 Emerald Grove, located in the neighborhood of Booth. It's a 4-level split single-family dwelling built in 1968. We have an effective age of 1993 on the dwelling, 1,848 square feet. Above grade, we have a full basement and a part area. Basement we have as basement is finished with 1 full bath, 2 half baths, 1 extra shower. Central AC is present. We have 1 fireplace. We have a built-in attached garage. We have no detached garages, no pool, no sunrooms. It's located on a plot of land that's 7,196 square feet. We have the assessments for 2023, which is based on our April 1st, 2021 market value at 496,000. Today, I'm presenting 4 comparable sales. Because 4-level splits are a little tough to find, I had to venture off a little bit in nearby neighborhoods, but comparable 1 is in Booth. Comparable 2 is in Heritage Park. Comparable 3 is in Westwood, and comparable 4 is in Woodhaven. So please have a look at the map. They're all 4-level splits, except comparable 2 is what we call a 2-1 story. So it would be like a 2-story attached to a bungalow. So kind of split levels there as well. They're all single-family dwellings. The year builds range between 1956 and 1990. The effective ages range between 1973 and 1997. The living area ranges between 1,556 square feet to 1,731 square feet. They all have full basements, all have basement finish, all have 1 full bath. Half baths range between 1 and 3. Extra showers range between 0 and 2. They all have central AC except comparable 3 does not. Fireplaces range between 0 and 1. They all have a multiple attached garage other than comparable 2 that has a built-in attached garage. No detached garages. Note that comparable 3 has a pool and there are no sunrooms present. Land size varies quite a bit here. 4,964 square feet at the low end to 10,311 square feet high end. We have an external corner influence at 217 Woodlawn, comparable 4. The sales took place between 2018 and 2020. Sale prices range between 400,000 the low end to 520,000 at the high end. The sale price per square foot range is between 231 a square foot to 282 a square foot. Time adjusted sale price to bring it to our reference date of April 1st, 2021. Ranges between 423,000 at the low side to 581,000 on the high side. Time adjusted sale prices range between 244 a square foot to 303 a square foot. I'm asking to maintain the assessed value as supported by the open market sale of the subject property and the comparables. Just a note that if you time adjust the 2018 sale of 480,500 to a reference date using market statistics, we're coming up to about 537,000. That's all for my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, no questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Malenky, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Arnell?
No, I'm good.
I have no questions. So we will move on to 22 Lorraine Street.
The subject property is roll number 08000552 commonly known as 22 Lorraine Street. It's located in the neighborhood of Varennes, in the old Saint Vital area. It's a two-story. I have a side-by-side fourplex built in 2018, 2,794 square feet. We have a full basement. I do not have basement finish on file. I have 4 full baths, 2 half baths, and I have no extra showers, central AC. I added a field here of total rentable bedrooms. I feel like it's important when we're dealing with revenue properties here. Note that it has 6, to my knowledge, it has 6 rentable bedrooms. We have no attached garages. They're detached garages, no pools, no sunrooms. It's located on a piece of land that's 5,144 square feet. Presenting 3 comparable sales today. The first one is in Varennes, yeah. The second comparable is in Central St. Boniface, and the third comparable is in Earl Grey. Unfortunately, with these type of properties, you got to go a little bit further and wide to find decent comps. Comparables are all 2 stories. They're either fourplexes or triplexes. The year of construction is between 2016 and 2020. Same with the effective age. Pretty wide range here on square footage. So pay attention to that. I mean, 1,872 square feet on the low end to 3,528 square feet on the high end. They all have a full basement. Note that they have basement finish. Full baths range between 3 and 4. Half baths range between 0 and 8. Extra showers range between 0 and 4. Central AC is present in comp 1 and 2. Total rentable bedrooms ranges between 8 and 12. There are no attached garages. There are no detached garages, no pools, no sunrooms. The land varies between 3,011 square feet on the low end and 5,153 square feet on the high end. The sales took place either in 2020 or 2021. The range is quite wide here, 710,000 on the low end to $1,060,000 on the higher end, giving a price per square foot range of between $300 a square foot to $379 a square foot. The time adjusted sale prices range between $728,000 to $1,074,000. The time adjusted sale price per square foot range ranges between $304,000 or $304 a square foot to $410 a square foot. I'm recommending to maintain the assessed value of $738,000 as supported by the comparables. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Are you using a rate per square foot, or is that how the model generated this value?
No, the model uses many comparables or many specific data points to come up with the value. But to be clear, when we're talking under, I think 4 units, it's being used in our residential model and not our commercial model.
Right, and I understand that. Now, my question, I guess, was there's a couple of different ways of valuing it when one is using direct comparison, one being on a rate per square foot, another being on a rate per unit. Does your model pick a side?
I don't know how much detail you want here, how much time you have on your hands, but.
Oh, lots. I want to hear everything.
All right, Rocky. All right. So the model, as you know, starts with land value. It's a multiple regression analysis model. Then it adds layers. So much per square foot of main floor, so much per square foot of second floor, so much for a half bath, so much for a full bath. on and on, depending on the stats it comes up with. These are values that we extrapolate from the market based on sales. So that's how the direct comparison MRA multiple regression analysis works, kind of in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering if you'd worked out a value per unit, per dwelling unit. Because you had talked about a value per bedroom, or the amount of bedrooms was important. So I was just wondering if you'd worked out a value per unit.
I have not worked out a value per unit. Our model also doesn't really operate that way.
Okay.
But I do think that's, and I mentioned it in my brief here, I think it's important to note how many rentable bedrooms there are in a unit, because any landlord would know that obviously a 3-bedroom unit typically rents for more than a 1-bedroom unit, that sort of thing. So I wish I had better apples and apples for comparables.
Oh, that's fine.
These are tough problems.
Now on that basis, so you listed as a 4-plex with 6 bedrooms. So do they all have 1.5, or how does that work?
I printed off the building plans here and went through them. I'm actually the one that added the house, so making sure I didn't make any mistakes here.
Okay.
But the one important thing to note here is in the building plans, there's a loft area, and I mean, I haven't recently been in here to inspect it, but someone could probably use it as a bedroom, but I didn't really go down that road. But it's 2 bedrooms and a loft. And then the other unit is a 1-bedroom unit at the lower level, my understanding here. So you have a 4-plex with 2 small units in the basement, and then main floor and second floor have independent units with 2, I don't know if you call it a 2.5 bedroom or just a 2, but 2 and a loft.
Okay, that answers my question. Now you mentioned that you put it on there and you were looking at the plans. I happen to be looking at the permit. Do you have a copy of the permit? Just the what do they call it? The extract, the short version of it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here.
And the permit number 18-124347, it says construct new 2-story dwelling unit of a side-by-side duplex. Do you see that?
I have permits HO124375. Like sometimes there's multiple permits that are attached. I just printed the new construction permit, but there could be others. I only have the one in front of me.
Does it say duplex or 4-plex?
It says duplex, but that's not necessarily accurate. PP&D makes these notes and transfers them over to us. It's my understanding, based on the plans, that there's an independent suite in the basement. Is that correct, Mr. Neufeld?
I'm certainly willing to answer questions later, but you know, I haven't submitted evidence. I'm next wanted to ask you about the city's website, which I'm also looking at now, and this is the public search site, and it lists in there 2 dwelling units. Do you have that, or? And I'm wondering, does the board have access to that, or do I have to submit it for rebuttal?
Well, the amount of dwelling units, my understanding would be that there would be 4 dwelling units on file. And I don't know, I'm not sure if our public website actually publishes the number of dwelling units. That's a good question.
It does. I'm looking at it.
Okay.
May I submit this as rebuttal, or does the board have the access to the public website?
You have to send it.
You have to send it by a rebuttal. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And Mr. Neufeld, we don't have a brief from you, so I'm
I-
assuming you're to be giving verbal evidence.
I'm giving verbal, and I'm going to behave myself on that basis, but I am allowed to submit. I'm sending this screenshot to VOR right now, and this just came off the public website, which indicates there are 2 dwelling units in it.
Okay. Did you have any further questions of the assessor?
Yes, sorry, I was only responding to his, the question, but sending that perhaps a little bit premature. If this property were valued as a duplex rather than a fourplex, would there be a change in the value?
No, absolutely not. The model really doesn't care if it's a fourplex or a duplex, because it's using our MRA model. Things like the land value, the lot size, the amount of bathrooms and bedrooms would be the drive, like all that data would be the data driving it, but not necessarily the fact that it's a duplex or a fourplex. Yeah.
Well, within the marketplace, is that consistent with the market treatment, considering the amount of rental income it could make?
We want to get into income on it. I think the income of a property and the expenses when we're dealing with revenue generating properties is relevant. I actually wish we valued these on income approach, but I don't know.
So do I, but they were against me.
Rocky.
There was a case a while back for 225 McKay where we felt that was the right way to go. So yes, I agree. But
yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm on board. Very the income approach, and I think it's relevant.
And you're being frank, and I'm just looking at your comps. You got a fourplex, two triplexes, and compared to a duplex. And so my question would be, if you were going to purchase these, would you not pay more per square foot for a property that could generate more income?
So you're asking me what, like, as a market participant, if I was buying an income property?
Or just theoretically?
As you're well versed in this, I would look at it as dollars and cents. What's the money? What's the money coming out? Am I losing money here because some realtors feed some fluff, or am I going to make some cash flow?
Okay, that's a good answer. Thank you. And those are my questions, and they will be the same for the unit next door. It's the same issue.
All right, thank you. Mr. Malenky, did you have questions of the assessor?
No questions.
Mr. Arnold?
No questions.
Just have one quick question, Mr. Gauthier. I'm assuming, looking at your brief, comparables 1 through 3, that comp 1 is probably your best comparable, correct?
I don't like any of them, to be honest with you. That's all I have.
Right? It's in the same neighborhood. It's a
I would say
fourplex.
checks the most boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Land size, etc. All right, thank you. Mr. Neufeld, if you'd like to give us your verbal evidence.
First of all, yes, thank you. I am very much enjoying the assessor's comments, because usually we get a lot of stonewalling, and it's so refreshing. And my verbal comments are one of the problems we made is we assumed as well that it was a fourplex when we first looked at it, and it is a duplex. It's an up-down duplex, and there's I looked up the zoning bylaw. This is in R1M land originally. They had a bylaw change to allow R2, which is 2 units, living units per lot. So you can't put 4 units here. You can't say I can adapt it and make 4 units. 2 units, that's it. And it should be valued on that basis. And it is an income producing property. The owner actually has their office is next door on St. Anne's, and they're in the business of renting this properties. So and as a result, I have no formal valuation I can provide to you. I can provide my verbal opinion, and that's about it. And I just went through MLS to look for duplex sales, and the top sale I found was $700,000. And that's the top sale. That's for both sides of the duplex. Most are in the neighborhood of $500,000. So we're just requesting a value, a nominal value of 650,000 based on just my verbal review, which is for both sides of the duplex.
Thank you. Mr. Gauthier, did you have any questions?
I mean, my only question is, have you inspected the property? Because I'm looking at the building plans here with the galley kitchen in the basement and a 1-bedroom in the basement. I think it's important for everybody here to know whether or not there's an actual suite on each side in the basement as indicated on the building plans. So we can call it a duplex or we can call it a fourplex. The bottom line is how many dwelling units in here.
Well, I mean, it's obvious I didn't inspect because we would have been far better prepared, and that, you know, you're providing honest answers, and that's my honest answer. We dropped the ball on this one. I believed it was a fourplex based on that, but the real bottom line here, it doesn't matter what the plans show. You cannot get a legally permissible additional unit in there. This is R2 zoning. And it was changed from R1 single family to multifamily, 2 units only, R2. To go further, to put another dwelling unit, you need another bylaw change to RM. And so that's not legally permissible. And I do have a copy of that, and I'll also submit that for rebuttal.
I don't have any further questions,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Mr. Belenky, did you have any questions, Mr. Neufeld?
No questions.
Mr. Engel? And I have no questions. Mr. Neufeld, did you want to speak to your rebuttal?
Yes, I do. And this is in regard.
Sorry, Mr. Neufeld, we don't have your rebuttal yet.
Oh. Okay, there were 2 pieces. Let me just see if they went through. I have a problem here. My servers just decided to quit on me.
Okay, I'll give you the chance to speak to it verbally.
Okay. The rebuttal is just a screenshot of the city assessment site indicating that there are 2 units, and it can be observed by simply going to the public website and typing in the address, and it indicates that there are 2 units. The other rebuttal, which I was trying to send, was the zoning bylaw, and the zoning bylaw, which was enacted, was to change the zoning from R1M to R2, which R2 is a legal restriction to only have 2 units. So it doesn't matter what the plans show. Property rights are paramount. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one last question.
Yes, go ahead.
You're aware that both sides, Mr. Neufeld, are under different roll numbers, so 2 dwelling units is actually accurate. Because you'd have 1 dwelling unit in the basement, 1 dwelling unit upstairs. The other side is our next item on the docket. So that makes sense.
Okay, well, I think that the other one on the docket is 2628. There are 2 duplexes side by side, each with their separate roll number. So what you're saying is not correct. I'm looking at this now, and if again, the public website should demonstrate this.
There might be a mistake, it's possible.
That 22 Lorraine, and then I go to the property map, and it's a 2-unit duplex per the planning approval. And then the one next door is 26/28 Lorraine, which is another duplex. There's 4 total dwelling units on the 2 rolls in question today.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, We are going to move on now to 26 Lorraine Street. Mr. Goche, if you'd like to start.
We have a little deja vu here because it's pretty much the same as far as I can tell. Roll number 0800055300, 26 Lorraine Street, located in Varennes, 2-story. I have a side-by-side, so 4 dwelling units. Built in 2018, 2,794 square feet, full basements. I have no basement finish, but this is not accurate. I have 4 baths, 2 half baths. I have no showers. I have central AC is present. I have 6 rentable bedrooms. I have no attached garages, no detached garages, no in-ground pools, no sunrooms. I have a lot size of 5,096 square feet that's commercial adjacent and an internal corner. We have the proposed assessed value at 738,000. Same 3 comparables we just recently discussed. So I'll just kind of comb through them quickly. 4-plex, a triplex, kind of newer construction, range between 1872 to 3528 square feet. The most salient point here that I believe is important is the number of rentable bedrooms. They range between 8 and 12. Land size, 3,011 square feet to 5,153 square feet. We have already discussed the values, so I won't bore you with all of those numbers again. Requesting to maintain the value at 738,000 on this one as well.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, any questions?
Madam Chairman, is it fair if I just say same as last time without asking them all over again?
That is fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And we appreciate it.
Good.
Mr. Malinky?
No questions.
Fair enough.
No questions.
Just one question, Mr. Goche. You says on your brief, and I did address this, it says no basement finish.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. And I'm wondering if it's a glitch because when we enter these as with a basement suite, we have like basically a checkbox where we can add a basement suite, so we don't want to double count it. So I'm wondering if it's that. I'm not sure why it says, because on the plans I have basement finish. So it's something I'm definitely going to look into here, whether or not that's needs to be changed in our system.
Okay.
But the building plans do indicate a suite in the basement with a galley, kitchen, and a 1-bedroom in the basement. So it's finished.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, if you'd like to proceed with your verbal evidence.
Yes, thank you. Again, as before, I did not have anything to present to you, and the verbal evidence is that based on an MLS search between January 1st, 2019 and April 1st, 2021, I have 35 duplex sales in the neighborhood, which is defined by MLS 2, which is most of St. Boniface, St. Vital. They range from a high of 275,000, this is for both sides, to, I mean, a low of 275,000 to a high of 700,000, and we're requesting, we agree it should be at the higher end of the range, and 650,000 in my mind seems fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neufeld. Did you have any questions, Mr. Goche?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Malinky?
No questions.
No questions. And I have no questions. Thank you very much for appearing this morning. Appreciate it.
It was very pleasant today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be in the waiting room.
Yes.
We are now going to move on to number 8 Red Oak Drive.
Subject property is
Just,
roll number.
just one
Oh,
second.
we're just waiting to get.
Oh. Sorry.
Mr.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, he's there.
Hello. Yep.
Hi,
Hello, everyone.
I have to clear them in.
Hello, good day.
This applicant, state your full name, please.
Certainly. My name is Wesley Van Bruggen, and I work at M&P.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, do you have another person with you, Nicole?
Yes, Nicole would also be will also be joining, but she won't be presenting.
So she will not be speaking to the matter?
No, it'll just be me.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Mr. Brookfield, if you'd like to start us off on this property?
The roll number is 0400541930, commonly known as 8 Red Oak Drive. It's located in the neighborhood of Springfield South. It's a bi-level single-family home built in 1986. We have no effective age, so no substantial renovations noted. We have that it has 720 square feet above grade, a full basement with basement finish, 1 full bath, 1 half bath, no extra showers, no central AC, no fireplaces, no attached garages. We do have a single noted here as single detached garage. So we're clear here. It's a pretty unusual circumstance where you have a detached home that has an attached garage with a neighboring property. So very, very rare to see these. No in-ground pool, no sunroom. It's located on a plot of land that's 3,302 square feet. We have commercial adjacent influence. We have 4 comparables that I'm presenting, or I have 4 comparables that I'm presenting today. The first, or 2 of the first comps, 1 and 2, are in the same neighborhood of Springfield South. The other 2 comps, 3 and 4, are in Springfield North. They're all bi-levels, single-family homes. The year built ranges between 1985 to 1998. The effective ages range between 85 and 1998 as well. Size range is between 691 square feet and 861 square feet. They all have full basements with basement finishing. Full baths range between 1 and 2. Half baths range between 0 and 1. Extra showers range between 0 and 1. They all have central AC except comp number 2. No fireplaces present. None of them have attached garages. None of them have detached garages. No pools, no sunrooms. Land size varies between 4,457 square feet, or sorry, 4,457 square feet on the low side to 6,129 square feet on the high side. They all have various influences, either commercial, bus, traffic, hydro transformer. The sales took place between 2019 and 2020. The sale prices range between $243,000 to $333,000, giving a price per square foot range between $297 a square foot to $482 a square foot. The time adjusted sale prices range between $270,000 and $333,000. Time adjusted sale price per square foot. The range there is $330 a square foot to $482 a square foot. I'm recommending to maintain our assessed value of $275,000 as supported by the comparable sales. Just a note here, none of the comparable sales have garages. And that the subject is obviously on a smaller plot of land. Unfortunately, I tried to do some research to see what the market value impact would be. And it's not really a neighborhood where there's vacant land sales that would provide me the information. So that's it for my presentation. Any questions?
Mr. Applicant, did you have questions of the assessor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple quick questions, if you would be so kind. Just first question, if we can turn to page 2 of your brief. On the right-hand side there, you can see what looks to be a commercial area. You confirm that this is the McLeod industrial area?
Definitely looks like an industrial park or commercial area to me for sure.
Yeah, and you'd agree that the subject property is in relatively close proximity to that, is that correct?
Yeah, hard to tell on the map here, but 3 or 4 in from Brunswick Street, and then across Brunswick Street is the beginning of a commercial area. That's correct.
Okay. And then for the properties that are located within North Springfield, is there any industrial plants within the area, or are those primarily residential neighborhoods?
Well, Comp 3 kind of backs onto Gateway, so that's not really great. As far as industrial, I don't see anything too industrial around the comparable sales, so that's correct.
Okay, so in your experience, would you determine that properties that are backing onto or near industrial parks, would they be valued, would they have a greater or lower value than properties that don't have that similar influence?
Obviously, if you were shopping for a house and you had one that was further away from an industrial plot of land or train tracks or those negative type of influence, you're going to pick the one or pay up for the one that doesn't.
Okay.
That's the known market.
So on a general basis, it would probably be safe to say that the Springfield North community would probably be slightly superior to, the properties that would be in the Springfield South as it's backing onto an industrial area. Would that be a fair statement to make?
Well, I have comps 1 and 2 that are in Springfield South, and then comps 3 and 4 are not, and comps 3 and 4 are slightly higher valued. So based on what I have here, I'm not going to argue that actually.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I think that concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Belenky?
No questions.
Mr. Arnell?
No questions.
Mr. Goche, can you just run through that garage scenario again?
I've only seen this twice ever on Plessis Road and here. So you have two detached homes, no party wall. So don't hear the neighbor or anything like that. But then the garages, because they use a narrower piece of land, the garages are attached to the back. Very unusual circumstance. So not an attached home, but the garages are attached. So in the legal description of this property, you would have a party wall agreement on the garage.
So I'm sorry, the 2 garages are attached.
So your garage is attached to your neighbor's garage.
And they are both single garages.
We have a single garage here. Yes, that's correct. Well, single garages. It's bizarre. It's very rare that builders do this.
So I'm assuming there's a back lane.
That would be correct, yes. Okay. The garage is at the back.
There's a common wall in the straight line.
There's a common wall in the garage on the property line. It's
So-
ridiculous. I don't know why they did it.
Okay, sorry, just one more question. So each of these, the single garage though they are actually sitting on the property belonging to the homes that they serve.
Correct. They're on the correct
With
plot
this,
of land. There's just no space between your garage and your neighbor's garage. Your garages are tied at the hip. Bizarre. You've never seen it because there's only a handful of
I've never
properties that
seen
I've
it nor heard of this.
Yeah, it's
Where's
bizarre.
the
The other ones are on Plessy Road. I actually sold one, so I know.
So the property line is right on the party wall?
That would be my understanding, is your property line would be at the party wall for the garage.
All right. Sorry, I do have another further question regarding the commercial adjacent. I believe the appellant said it's industrial. McLeod industrial.
An industrial park.
Okay. Do you know what takes place there?
I don't actually.
Okay, I'm sure the appellant could speak to it. Sir, if you would like to give us your presentation?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. If we can turn to my presentation. So if we can flip to page 4, we'll get started. Just to give the board a sense of how I like to do these presentations, I typically like to give some general information about the property and then move into the property specifics or the matters at hand. So as mentioned, the subject property, just to make sure, is everyone on the same page? Should be page 423.
I'm sorry? Yes. Sorry,
Everyone's
yes, if you'd like to proceed.
okay, no worries. Just want to make sure we're all there.
Yeah.
If you can move to page 4, please, we'll get started. So as indicated, the property is located at 8 Red Oak Drive. This is a bi-level, as mentioned, 1986 year construction, 720 square feet. It does have a attached detached garage, I guess, as mentioned. This property is located within fairly close proximity to the McLeod Industrial Park. So the McLeod Industrial Park has a variety of manufacturing facilities. So quite large. We have a furniture manufacturing facility, some trucking, some trucking facilities. So this is, in true sense, certainly industrial in nature, not commercial in nature in terms of the type of activities that are occurring here. So you'd be looking at shift work, most cases 24/7 running around the clock of these properties. So it's not like you're getting quiet weekends or quiet evenings along the place. And that you can see here on the page 4 that it has been noted as commercial adjacent by the city. So the city recognizes the location and the impact that this could have on the property. The board will turn with me to page 7. On page 7, we have the location map. This has been provided by the City of Winnipeg assessment website, as well as a photo of the property, an exterior photo of the property. Same thing on page 8, just a little bit more information for that. The board will turn with me to page 9 when ready. If you just let me know.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so when MNP looked at these properties, so the assessor has taken a look at this on a price per square foot for residential properties. Now, the challenge of price per square foot for residential properties is that you're always going to have a wide variety of parameters that you have to consider, right? So there's always going to be trade-offs. You might have a newer property, it might be in an inferior location. You might have a larger property, but the property is missing central air or something along those lines. So for that reason, it makes it very difficult, particularly for residential properties, to look at it on a pure dollar per square foot basis. So for this sense, in this case, what we've done is we've taken a look at a variety of properties that have come out of that neighborhood. These are properties that we've deemed to be relatively comparable to the subject property. Again, it's always impossible, very difficult in these neighborhoods where you have a variety of different construction to get exactly the same as a subject property. So there's a bit of variance in terms of the location, of course, within the community, as well as the year of construction and some areas. But we tried to capture properties that we felt were as similar as possible to the subject property. What we've done here is we've provided that so you can see that there's 9 comparable properties that we've identified. There are a couple that are the same as what the city has used within their evidence. So the city is using 1133 Brunswick Street. So you can see that as comparable 1. The city is also using the property at 9 Red Oak Drive, and that would be comparable number 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. So we do have 2 of those two comparables, but the rest of our comparables are different, as they are all from the neighborhood area 420 Springwood South. So we tried to stay within the neighborhood. So as you can see here, we've taken a look, and what we've looked at is we've compared the properties and tried to determine for each of the components, are they superior or inferior compared to the property at hand? So to give you an example, we can see for 1133 Brunswick Street, The site that we have is 3,302 square feet for land. The property at Brunswick Street is a little bit larger. However, the commercial adjustment is the same. When you look at that, you can see just on that one component alone, large 1133 Brunswick has a larger land parcel. The negative adjustment is the same. So we would say that would probably be a bit of a superior influence. We've gone through, looked at year of construction, 1133 Brunswick, 1995. Our property, 1986. Our property is a little bit older, so we would say the Brunswick property is a little superior. Looking down, again, so slightly larger in area for the property at Brunswick compared to the subject property. I mean, really, at the end of the day, when we're looking at size of property, you know, what's an extra couple square feet per room? It doesn't really have much of an impact in terms of what someone's buying a property for. If I am buying a house and each room has got an extra 5 square feet of space, it doesn't really factor too much into my purchase price. I'm more looking at the number of rooms. I'm more looking at the location. I'm more looking at all those other factors when I'm purchasing the house, less so in terms of what's the exact square footage of each one of the rooms. So again, we feel that the property 1133 Brunswick is probably similar. Same number of rooms as identified as 5, just a little bit larger. Basement finish is finished, similar to the subject property. The property 1133 Brunswick has air conditioning compared to the subject property, which doesn't. So again, we would say that in that case, it makes it a little bit more superior to the subject property, just because, again, there is a bit of a demand for air conditioning within the market, would be considered a benefit. And then we take a look and see it does not have a garage. So that would be an inferior adjustment. And then what we do is we look through each one of these components and say, okay, in terms of land, we're a little superior. In terms of year construction, we're a little superior. In terms of the property itself, or air conditioning or not, it's a little superior. It's a little inferior for lack of garage. And we take a look at that, kind of tally them up. And overall, we would say, okay, based on these parameters, we feel that this would probably be a bit of a superior property within the market, or the market would view this as a superior property to the subject property. We do the same thing for each one of the other sales that we've looked at. You can kind of see that same analysis as we've gone through. Again, looking at each one of the components. For 102 Red Oak Drive, again, we take a look. It's a little smaller, but it's not commercially adjacent. So we'd say that's probably similar in terms of the land. We could see the property is a little older. However, the property has more rooms, which would make it superior. We can see that it has a fireplace and air conditioning, which would make it superior. So after we tally it all up, we would say superior for 102 Red Oak. We do the same thing for 154 Tanya Crescent, 9 Red Oak Drive. I'll talk about 9 Red Oak Drive a minute, just because the city is using this as another comparable property. When we take a look, you can see that the land is larger. It is commercial adjacent. It does have hydro lines. The hydro lines only go across the back portion of the land, so it's not right over top of the building itself. The hydro lines don't actually impact anything to do with the use of the back land. So when we take a look at that, we would say, considering the size of the land parcel, it would probably be and the location would probably be a little superior to the subject property. Property's newer at 9 Red Oak, 1998 year construction versus the year construction on the subject property in 1986. In terms of size of the building, it's got 5 rooms. It's a little bit bigger, but again, not enough to really sway it that much. So we're saying that's similar. Building finish would be similar. The basement is finished, so the same as the subject property. No air conditioning, no fireplace, which would be the same as the subject property. No garage, which would make it inferior. But when we take a look at this, considering the location, the age, we would say, this would probably be superior within the market compared to what we would be looking at for the subject property. So if we're looking at on a sale price, would someone be willing to, where would you be willing to pay more money for 9 Red Oak or 8 Red Oak? We'd probably say the market would view 9 Red Oak a little more favorably and put a higher value on that. So we'd say that would be a superior property. For 229 Red Oak Drive, same analysis. We feel that is similar to the subject property. 150 Tanya Crescent, inferior. 89 Red Oak Drive would be the same. 1064 McLeod Ave would be inferior, and 199 Red Oak Drive would be superior. So what we're looking to do is we're just trying to bracket the subject property based on what are the sales of superior and inferior properties within the market. And then based on that, trying to use that to infer what would be a reasonable value. Because again, when we're buying properties and selling properties, we're always basing it on what's comparable within the market and what's transacting. And how does our property line up with other properties that are selling? So when we take a look at that and we see, okay, what are the superior, inferior properties? We can kind of, that's how we came up with our value of about $255,000. Looking and saying, okay, well, we know 1133 Brunswick is superior. That's at 270,000. We know 102 Red Oak is superior. That's 263,000. 9 Red Oak is superior at 306,000. The inferior ones are at 260,000, 239, and the similar ones are kind of the 245,000 to 265,000. So again, looking at all these various factors, we kind of feel that the 255,000 would be a pretty reasonable value, all things considered, when we look at these properties in their entirety. Because again, we can appreciate that every piece of real estate is a little unique, particularly when it comes to residential homes. They all have a variety of factors that are considered. So that's how we came up with our value, not necessarily looking at our on a price per square foot basis, but rather more using a comparison approach and seeing how the subject property lines up with other comparable properties within the market. Starting on page 14, continuing on to page 22, is just the supporting documentation for our table on page 9. So those documents basically outline a lot of the parameters that we've looked at and considered, and just show where that information has come from as we were looking at the subject property when making our determinations about what the correct assessed value should be. With that, I conclude my presentation, and I welcome any questions from the board or from the assessors. Thank you so much.
Mr. Van Bruggen?
Bergen, yeah.
Bruggen, thank you. We do not look at assessments of properties, just so you're aware.
These are sale prices of properties. So each one of these are the adjusted sale price that the property transacted for, not the.
Sorry, I'm talking about you've brought in the assessment, the assessed value.
The purpose is just to provide support for the information we included in our table. So if you look on page 14.
Okay, yep. Well, I just want you to know that we do not look at it. So.
Well, again, Madam Chair, the reason it's there is if you turn to page 14, and I'll just let everyone get there. So this shows the living area for the property, the building type, the basement or basement finish, the year of construction, the air conditioning, fireplace, attached garage, detached garage or pool, as well as the building area and any influences. So the reason we're bringing this forward is just to provide support for that. We're not looking at the assessment of this, more so for the information within the table.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gauthier, did you have any questions?
I just had one question. I was just wondering, we picked two of the same comparables, 1133 Brunswick and 9 Red Oak Drive. Looking at them on the map, you can throw a baseball to the industrial park. Would you agree that those are probably the most relevant comparables that I presented and you presented today?
Yeah, I would say they're very similar. I think, again, the one thing we'd have to consider is that the property at 1133 Brunswick does have air conditioning. The subject property doesn't. Both properties at 1133 Brunswick and 9 Red Oak are a little bit newer than the subject property, as well as when we take a look at the land parcels is a little larger, particularly the 9 Red Oak Drive property. There's quite a bit of backyard there compared to the subject property. But I would agree that they would be very, they would be comparable, which is why we included them to the table. But I would say they're probably a little superior to the subject property.
My second question was, were you made aware that 7 of your comparables are in fact attached homes, and that a fair market adjustment for that is north of $50,000?
Well, yes, you had indicated that they are attached homes. However, when we look at the range, we can see 1133 Brunswick Street selling for a time adjusted sale price of $269,900, which is right in line with all the other properties within the area. One of the challenges, I think, when we're looking at information is when we group too many things together, the details get lost in the mix. So it's, again, understanding your point that you're saying that there's a difference in terms of sale prices. We're not actually seeing that. We're seeing that all properties within the neighborhood that are similar in terms of the buy level are actually selling for reasonably similar prices. So again, we feel that they would be a reasonable, certainly reasonable comparables to look at when trying to determine what a value market or a market value for the property would be.
Thank you. We'll address that in my rebuttal, but for now, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Belenky?
No questions.
Mr. Arno?
No questions.
And I have no questions. And you have rebuttal?
Yes, I submitted some rebuttal evidence. I just wanted to provide.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Just quick question here. Was that rebuttal evidence sent to me?
I just sent you an email right now.
Okay, yeah, if you could, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So to be fair, I don't think the appellant's representative has access to MLS information, but I always like to see what type of market adjustment would be required when comparing apples and oranges. As I've already pointed out, 7 of the comparables that the appellant's representative is using are attached side by sides. So this is where you're sharing a wall with your neighbor, and you guys know what that entails. So what I provided is I provided 2 data sets because I asked myself the same question, like maybe the market doesn't care and maybe the value is similar. So what I've done here is an MLS area 3H, which is essentially the neighborhood we're talking about. You can see my parameters listed below here in the search on Keystone Matrix on the Realtor website. So 650 to 900 square feet, single family homes that are either bi-levels, bungalows, or raised bungalows. So 1-story homes. I made a comparison of the attached versus detached. There's a few different ways to look at this, but you can look at the range and see that there's quite a difference in the range. And then you can take the median, the middle value. So it's not completely, the market is basically telling me that a pretty substantial adjustment to the tune of $50,000 is warranted when we're talking about comparing a detached property to an attached property. There is a special circumstance here where the garages are attached, but to be fair, comparables 1 and 2, as far as location, suffer from the exact same industrial influences nearby. They do not even have a garage. The rest, like I said, that are presented are attached homes, and I feel like they need to be hit with a pretty substantial market adjustment if they're to be utilized. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Brusen, did you have any questions?
Sorry, just give me one moment here. I just have to look. I apologize. I would have been prepared if I had this in advance. I just have to look. I just have to look through it right now. I'm just playing a little catch up here.
Okay, I'll just refer to the panel. Mr. Belenky, did you have any questions in regards to the rebuttal?
No, I don't. No questions.
No questions.
Okay. So I guess here when we take a look at this, so I'm taking a look at the side-by-side properties that transacted. And when I'm taking a look at the sales, so there's 2 sales, or I guess we've got the 2 sales, 1 at 1133 Brunswick, 9 at Red Oak. These properties are selling with a time adjusted sale price of $269,900 and $306,000. And when I look at the other comparables, so the side-by-sides, I'm seeing values, time adjusted values kind of ranging from 254,000 to 274,000, or wait, give or take. Again, when we take a look at that, there really is quite a bit of overlap. Would you not agree between the side-by-sides and where we're looking at for the 411 Brunswick and 9 Red Oak between the values?
Like I said, I'm looking at the 2 data sets, and it's pretty clear that there's a substantial difference. whether it's, 30K, 40K, 50K, I don't, I'd have to spend a little bit more time on that, maybe narrow it down a bit more, but there's definitely a value difference. I think a buyer in the marketplace would definitely pay more for a detached home. I lived in a girlfriend of mine lived in an attached home, so I know I know the nightmares that having an attached wall to your neighbor can present. So I would pay a lot more for a detached home, and I think the data is telling us that the marketplace agrees with that as well.
Well, I mean, your experience aside, if I take a look at your comp 3, so this is 102 Red Oak Drive. So this property, 1978 year construction, 818 square feet. It has two full baths. It has air conditioning, a multiple garage, and it sold for $263,800. If I compare that to 1133 Brunswick Street, slightly newer property, 1995, living area, very similar in terms of size, but basement finish, central area, yes. Doesn't look like it has a detached garage. So slight difference there. And then when we take a look at that price, it's $269,900. So we're, $6,000 off on that. If we take a look at, again, some of the other properties that you've presented here. So for example, taking a look at comp 9, so 199 Red Oak Drive. We can see your construction 1979, slightly bigger at 975 square feet, 2 bathrooms. Central area, yes. And we take a look at that sale price, time adjusted sale price over $274,300. And again, we compare that to 1133 Brunswick, and we can see that's $269,900. Again, that property sold for slightly higher. So again, if we're looking you talk about comparing apples to apples. So if we're comparing apples to apples, you would agree that there does seem to be some, at least a certain amount of overlap between properties that are side by side and the single dwelling properties, is based on the information you're providing.
But to be clear that in my rebuttal evidence, none of these are my comps except comp 1 and 2 that we both selected. I laid them out this way just so that I could see the data clear, and then we could present to the panel. But if you're asking me, like, if a done up side by side, for example, could fetch the same amount as a detached home in certain circumstances, it's possible.
Right.
I presented 2 data sets that tell me that there's definitely a price difference. I mean, if you want to argue about what that dollar amount is, that's fine, but there's a substantial adjustment needed between attached homes and detached homes. That's all I'm presenting in my rebuttal evidence. And these comps 3, 4 that you're going over, these are not my comps, these are your comps, by the way. In appraisal, what you try to do is pick the most similar properties possible. You want to stay away from getting in the weeds of different neighborhoods if possible. You want to stay away from getting in the weeds of attached homes versus detached homes. You want to stay away of getting in the weeds of comparing 2 stories to bungalows. You don't go there unless you have to. So that's basically the bottom line. So if you don't have to, don't go there. We got 2 beautiful comps that are a stone throw away from the subject. They're stone throw away from the negative influence, and they're not attached. Thank you.
Right. But again, if we're going to talk, you're providing this as rebuttal evidence. So this is, I'd argue that this is evidence that you're presenting. If we're going to, and we have seen you've included 2 properties that have been outside of the neighborhood. So 2 of your properties were outside of the neighborhood. So if you're saying, let's look, again, I'm sure you can probably recognize and appreciate, since you've indicated that you have sold real estate, that it's difficult to find properties within the neighborhood that would be exactly comparable. So we have to use what we have. And we have to make adjustments or determinations of how these properties all line up together. And when we take a look at the comparables that you provide in your rebuttal evidence, we can see, maybe you'll disagree, but based on some of this evidence, you can see that there is overlap between the side-by-sides. So again, when we're trying to take a look at what a value would be, would you not agree that we use available information? And if in this case, you would concede that there is some overlap, particularly with comp 4 and comp 9 and what we're looking at for the single families?
Listen, we're dancing around in circles here.
Yes.
We've made our point, you've made your point, and basically, I think we should move on.
Mr. Goche.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Yes, we have heard both sides So we are going to move on. Thank you.
Excellent.
Actually, at this time, we're just going to take a 10-minute break. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Madam Chair.
Real life, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting back to order, and we are moving on to property at 228 Hansard Boulevard. Mr. Goche, if you'd like to start your presentation.
The subject property is roll number 10002866000, commonly known as 228 Hansard Boulevard. Located in the neighborhood of Old Tuxedo. It's a two-story single-family home built in 2015. Living area we have is 4,567 square feet. Has a full basement with basement finish, 2 full baths, 4 half baths, 3 extra showers, central AC, 1 fireplace, a multiple attached garage, no detached garages, no pools, and no sunrooms. It's located on a plot of land that's 12,995 square feet. I'm presenting 4 sales today that are all located in Old Tuxedo. They're all 2-story homes, single-family dwellings. They're built between 1984 and 2020. Effective ages that we have on the properties range between 2010 and 2020. Square footage ranges between 3,111 square feet and 4,628 square feet. They all have full basement with basement finish. Full baths range between 3 and 4. Half baths range between 1 and 2. Extra showers range between 1 and 3. They all have central AC. Fireplaces range between 1 and 2. They all have multiple attached garages, other than Comp 2 that has a built-in attached garage. No detached garages. Comparable 1 has a pool. No sunrooms noted. The land size ranges between 9,746 square feet and 12,995 square feet. We have an internal corner influence at 206 Lamont. Sales took place in between 2018 and 2020. Sale prices range between $2,100,000 to $3,625,000. Sale prices per square foot range between 561 a square foot to 796 a square foot. Time adjusted sale prices range between $2,274,000 to $3,650,000. Time adjusted prices per square foot, they range between 608 a square foot to 802 a square foot. I'm asking to maintain the current assessed value at $2,466,000, supported by the comparable sales. I wanted to make a note here that comparables 1 and comparables 3 are definitely superior in quality to the subject. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Bruggen, did you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Belenky?
No questions.
No questions.
Just one question. You just stated that comparable 1 and 3 are superior in construction.
Yeah, when you take a look at these properties, I mean, they're all very unique in that area. A few of them, they go over the top on the siding and woodworking and adding layers. So the quality is definitely better quality. From what I could tell by the building plans. In the building plans, they give us an exterior. It shows what type of siding, that sort of thing. And I mean, to be honest, the house at 217 Lamont and the house at 132 Gurdon, we've discussed it earlier today. These are houses that have that extra touch, that extra high quality.
Okay. So you don't have any information on the interiors of these properties?
I have reviewed the building plans and I believe I brought copies with them. Yeah, I have the building plans here. Like I said, it's pretty difficult to top. But I mean, to be fair, these comps went for almost $1 million more, right? And there's a reason. Basically, the quality of construction we have is top notch.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Van Bruggen, if you'd like to give us your presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So much the same as what we've done, much the same as the way I had done it previously. We will give a higher level view in terms of the evidence and then move down into the site specifics as we go through it. Give me one moment. I apologize here. You'll just have to bear with me for 1 second. I closed the Word document or the document that I was going to be using. So I will fix that. All right, there we go. If the board will turn with me to page 4, we'll get started. And if you can just let me know when you're there.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. So as indicated, the property is located at 228 Hannah Arts Boulevard. Neighborhood is in Old Tuxedo. Property is a 2-story building, finished basement, that is finished. Year of construction is 2015. It has air conditioning, it has a fireplace, it has an attached garage, no pool, no detached garage, sits on 12,995 square foot land parcel. The board will turn with me to page 7. On page 7, we provided just a map that's been provided from the City of Winnipeg assessment website, just showing the location of where that property is located. So you can see just a little off court in there, as well as a couple pictures of the subject property you can find on page 7 and page 8, just external pictures. The board will move with me to page 9. We'll get started with the evidence. So much the same as what we had done with the Red Oak property. We've done the same thing with the subject property for this property as well. Again, this properties, once we get into values that are north of, well north of $1 million, it becomes a challenge because each one of those properties, I'm sure as you can appreciate, are going to be individualized based on owner's needs, owner's wants. And when you're paying that kind of money for properties, you're certainly not getting the cookie cutter property. You're getting a custom product. So in this case, again, when we take a look at properties, it makes it very challenging just to look at a straight price per square foot rate, because there's certainly different characteristics and considerations. I think has already been mentioned, quality of finishes that go into these properties, number of rooms. All of these are factors when we're looking at these properties. The other factor, and this will be, I'm sure it'll come up, but we've certainly looked beyond the neighborhood that we're in, Old Tuxedo. So again, when we're looking at properties that are north of a couple $1 million, or north of $1 million, we have to cast a bit of a wider net just to see what is comparable out there. These are all, to take a look at how do we value a property? How do we come up with what an appropriate value for the property is? So anyway, the properties that we provided on page 9, we've done a similar approach where we've taken a look at each of the components to see how they line up to the subject property, what would be considered superior, what would be considered inferior, and then look to use that to try to bracket the subject property and take a look at realistically what are similar properties within the market selling for. So if we take a look, we can see so the subject property there, 2-story, all the properties that we're going to look at are 2-story single detached properties. 12,995 square feet of land. So some difference, a little bit of difference there. So certainly some of the properties are on slightly smaller land parcels. Some are on larger land parcels. So we take a look at that. You can see that 204 Waterloo, this property is located on a smaller land parcel. So that component would be considered inferior. 26 Ike, we can see that this property is assessed on a larger land parcel at 14,000 square feet and has a park behind the building. So we consider that superior. 1218, then we have 1218 Gerton at Boulevard. We can see that property is on a slightly smaller land parcel, commercially adjacent. So we determine that as inferior. And then we can see Cordova and Four River Road. For Cordova, it's on an interior corner. So again, there's a little bit of desirability there. We'd call that superior. And then for the Four River Road property, that's river adjacent. So backing into the river, a large land parcel, 27,000 square feet. So we consider that superior. When we look at year of construction, subject properties 2015, year of construction, we can see that a lot of these properties are newer. So we can see that we've got kind of 204 Waterloo, 232 Hansart Boulevard, 14 Ike, 26 Ike Route. Both these are all, and 1218 Gerton, these are kind of between 2018 and 2020 year of construction. So kind of in a situation of 3 to 5 years newer. 28 Cordova is 2014, so that'd be pretty similar in terms of construction. And then the 4 Red River, this is an older property that has been significantly renovated. So 2010, 2013 year updated on that, and that would be considered inferior as well. In terms of the area of the buildings, no two ways about it. The property is large at 4,567 square feet. And when we take a look at the properties, we can see that the properties we're looking at, we've got kind of the properties between 3,100 to 3,500 square feet. And then 28 Cordova is 4,200 square feet. 4 River Road is 4,600 square feet. So that'd be a little more similar in size. All have finished basements, all have air conditioning. The next consideration is the number of bedrooms. So one thing we haven't really talked too much about are the number of bedrooms within a house. I know certainly it's a consideration when someone is coming to buy a house that they would be making and looking at the number of bedrooms within that home, because they're going to look to see whether it meets their needs. So we can see the subject property has 4 bedroom, 3 bath. And when we take a look at the other properties, we can see some of them have 5 bedroom, 5 bath. So for example, 232 Hansart Boulevard, 5 bedroom, 5 bath. We call that superior. 218 Gerton Avenue, 6 bedroom, 3.5 bath. Again, we looked at that as superior. 28 Cordova, 5 bedroom, 7 bath, consider that superior. And then 4 River Road, 3 bedroom, 4 bath, that would be considered inferior. And then again, once we take a look at all of these, we try to determine how do these line up compared to the subject property. And what we're looking for is ideally a couple properties above, a couple properties below, to give us a sense of overall, once we look at all the characteristics of these properties, how do they line up especially when considering what a purchaser would be looking at? So we can see a couple properties that are inferior. So that'd be 204 Waterloo Street and 4 River Road. Sale prices of these are 1.266 million and 1.622 million. Those are the adjusted sale prices. And then we can see there's a couple properties that we would consider superior, which would be 232 Hansart Boulevard and 28 Cordova Street. Again, when we take a look at these properties and all the characteristics, those would just be looking at a little bit superior. And those properties are selling for about, have time adjusted sale prices of about 2 million and 2.2 million. So that leaves the remaining properties, 14 Ike Road, 26 Ike Road, and 218 Gerton Boulevard. Again, each one of these properties has some differences. Some are a little smaller, and some are, these properties are a little newer. Land parcels are a little different. But when we take a look at them, we kind of see that we're at 1.3 million to $2 million in terms of what these sale prices are selling at. Realistically, we would expect this property to be selling in a range of about 1.7 to $2 million based on what we're seeing here in terms of how we compare, what the comparison would be. Again, there's always going to be a bit of a range in value on this, but that seems, it seems like that would be kind of a reasonable range when we look at what's superior and what's inferior within the market and how that's transacting. If the board will turn with me to page 14, and just let me know when you're there. Oh, am I frozen?
Yep.
Okay, everyone's there? Okay, sorry, everyone was just sitting really still. So starting on page 14, we have pictures of the properties that we're considering, that we're looking at, just so the board can get a sense of what these properties are looking like. So we can see the first property here. This is 204 Waterloo. This property was constructed in 2020, so fairly new construction. When we go through, if we start going through, starting on page 15, 16, and we have a little bit of narrative there in terms of what we're looking at. So on page 16, you can see that we're looking here, we've got, engineered wood flooring, soaring ceilings, what have you. Picture of the kitchen on page 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 20, up to 25 are those pictures of the site. So I won't go through that in exhaustive detail, but this is just to give a sense of what the board of what this property looks like, and what we were seeing. So again, property is newer than the subject property, but it is smaller than the subject property. So again, and it did sell for 1.266 million. So we'd feel that this would be a little inferior. The next property, the board will turn with me to page 26. This is 232 Hansard Boulevard. So this is one of the properties that has been considered by the city as well. So you can see a picture of that on page 26. So fairly modern property, 5-bedroom, 4.5 bath, constructed in 2018. If you start looking through, so on page 27, we have some start having some interior photos. So very modern in terms of the detailing, in terms of the styling that they're using for this particular property. Page 28 has some photos of the kitchen, as well as the master bathroom or bedroom. Page 29, we have some photos of that master bedroom. On the bottom of page 29, we have the finished basement and a couple shots there. So again, we're talking a fairly, certainly a new property, designed and developed to a very high standard. And we can see that flows through the building all along. So for this building, again, we're looking at 2018 year construction, total area. So this property has 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bath, which is slightly more than the subject property. And when we take a look at this, all those things considered, we consider, especially when we're looking at the interior finishing, we would call this a superior property. Page 31, we have 14 Eichkraut Place. Again, we have the photos here just to show what this property looks like. 2019 year of construction on that property. As we go through page 32, those pictures will carry us from page 32 to 35. Again, we can see a very modern look to this, very high quality finishes for how this property is finished. So this property, while being 2019 year construction, is a little bit smaller than the subject property. It has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bath. It would be similar in terms of that. This property sold for 1.7 million. We just feel that this would be a reasonable comparison or comparable when we're looking at the subject property, when we're looking at how to value the subject property. 218 Girton. Again, if we go to starting on page 37, so there's a whole write-up on this property in terms of what that property looked like, just in terms of some of the finishes for that particular property. We weren't able to find specific interior photos, so we provided this. Again, you can see when we take a look, we're talking fairly modern finishes to this property, high-end finishes to the considerations as we're taking a look at it. So for this property, again, we're looking at a property that would be a little bit newer, so 2018 year construction, a little bit smaller, so 3,500 square feet, has 6 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. So overall, this would probably be considered a bit of a similar property to the subject property as we're looking at it. Starting on page 40, we have the information for 28 Cordova Street. So again, this property was constructed in 2014. And when we take a look at it, we can see there's 6 bathrooms within this property and 1 partial bathroom. In terms of floor area, this is 4,200 square feet. Subject property is 4,500 square feet, so similar in terms of size, similar in terms of age. So this is 2014 versus the subject property at 2015. And we take a look, we can see the property itself. So if we look on page 42, so this is again a very nice property, We have some interior photos on page 42, high-end finishes throughout the property. Obviously, a lot of attention to detail put in. 43, we can see the living room and as well as the kitchen. 44, some of the interior photos. And these photos continue on until page 46. So again, we can see very modern, high-end finishes within the property. We'd say this would be very similar to the subject property. Maybe a little bit superior. This property sold at 1.9 million. A time adjusted sale price of 1.976 million. Then finally, we have page 47. This is the property at 4 River Road. This property was a little older, but then was renovated. Significant renovations in 2010 and 2013. Here we have some photos on page 47 on what that property looks like. 48, we have some interior photos. Obviously, a lot of time, money, and effort has been put into repositioning this property. We can see page 51, 52, and 53. So these are all interior photos of this property. So again, quite a few modern designs, finishes, a lot of time and money spent on this site. And then on page 54, we have a building permit search for this particular property. You can see that 4 River Road, there's an indication that the property was demolished in 2009, constructed new in 2010, with a number of upgrades throughout the property. There was an addition put onto the property in 2013, and again, some further additions over the time frame. So again, when we take a look at the property, we would say, certainly a larger site. This is a 27,000 square foot lot, river adjacent. So again, a great location for this. Property is a little bit older, 2010, 2013 construction on this. So overall, we'd probably say that would make it a little inferior. And the sale price on this property, adjusted sale price on this property is 1.622 million. So overall, again, when we consider each of those aspects, when we look at how does the subject property line up to other properties within the market, it would really be our position that we would probably be expecting the property to sell kind of that $1.7 to $2 million range, considering what else is out there and what was transacting within the market. And that's what that's what our request is. With that, I welcome any questions from the board or from the assessor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Goche.
I don't have any questions. I submitted rebuttal evidence. We'll get to that later, but for now, no questions. Thank you.
Okay. And then in terms of rebuttal, I'm not quite sure on how this is done, so I apologize if this is wrong, because I also did provide rebuttal. Did the board want me to go through that now in terms of rebuttal evidence for this against for the city?
No, we're going to hear the rebuttal evidence after. Thank you.
Okay, so you'll hear the city's rebuttal, then our rebuttal.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Mr. Blakely, did you have any questions?
I have no questions. I have no questions.
And I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like to present your rebuttal,
Sure.
Mr. Goche.
Everybody has it in front of them.
Yes.
I'll try to skim through it a little bit quicker here. But basically, I feel like there's sufficient two-story comparables in Old Tuxedo that's a much higher value neighborhood. So I'm providing land sales in various areas here to kind of suggest a pretty serious location adjustment if you're going to go outside of that neighborhood to use comparables, as the appellant's representative has done. To sum that up, basically, I'm suggesting between Tuxedo and South Tuxedo or Mid Tuxedo, probably a $300,000 upward adjustment. In the Wellington Crescent area, there's a caveat here if you're not actually on Wellington or on the river. So those lots would also require about a $425,000 adjustment. The principle of progression and regression are very important here when you're using comparables that are at the higher range of their neighborhood versus in Old Tuxedo there. So that's also an important factor. Below is a map of 218 Gurdon. We have already discussed this earlier, just showing the poor location. It's probably arguably one of the worst locations in the neighborhood. The land went for about half price of a typical Old Tuxedo lot. Quality, questionable, builder name, no recognition. 17-story high-rise peering down on it, light pollution from a from a nearby shopping center. This comp comes up all the time, but yeah, I just provided a map here so you have an idea of the clear shot between 218 Girton and all these negative influences on the traffic going by. So I prefer not to use it, but if someone's going to consider that one, it needs to be very heavily adjusted for location, quality. It took, as I had mentioned earlier today, I think a ridiculous amount of time to sell that property. They started marketing it in September 2017, and it didn't sell till July 2019 with several massive price reductions. So it really got hit hard. So I just wanted to mention that so that everybody's clear. One of the comparables at Four River Road, I think, is way out of line because it's 14.5 kilometers on the other side of the city. Once again, I don't feel like we have to go that far to find good comparables. So that's it for my rebuttal.
Thank you. Mr. Van Bergen, did you have any questions of the assessor?
I do. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So if we turn to, so on the first page, you have for sales from Old Tuxedo. Is that correct?
The land sales, that's correct, yes.
Yeah. Would you agree each one of these properties was improved at the time of sale?
That would make sense. I'm pretty sure they all had old dwellings on them that got mowed down. Yes.
Can you tell us what the separation between land and building value was for these? Do you have any evidence on what that is?
Well, in appraisal theory, what happens is the number one question is highest and best use. So when you have a 1930s construction home that's reached the end of its useful life, usually the highest and best use is to tear it down. And according to these sales, which had permits roll through shortly after purchase, that was the intent. So if a buyer intends to mow a property down and it's at the end of its useful life, by definition, it's a classic land sale.
Right, but again, we have to look at it from both sides of the equation. If someone's selling the property, they're selling their home. If I'm selling my home, I'm going to ask for a value that would be reflective of what I feel that value would be for the home itself. So would there not be some sort of adjustment upwards to account for the fact that there is a structure, there is a value to that?
In all these cases, the buyers did not see the value in the house and rather saw the value in the land.
And that's up to the buyer, but again, the seller's going to have the seller's not going to accept a value that's below what they feel is reasonable for the house.
The seller has no choice but to accept what the market gives them.
And then when we take a look at the lands in Tuxedo and South Tuxedo, are these not all new? Is this not a new development area? Were these not all vacant land parcels when they sold?
I believe that's the one where there's a cul-de-sac that was added in, and those were new lots in a new development in an old area, if that makes sense. Right. So it's subdivided. And the reason I put them is because if I'm not mistaken, you had one of your comparables was on iCrowd. So I just wanted to point out that there's a huge land difference and a huge location difference if we're mixing and matching Old Tuxedo and Saint Vital and other areas. That's important here.
Right, but we're just
take the evidence how you want it. Take the evidence how you want it, but I'm providing market evidence here. I'm not just making statements. So
right, but each one of these would be a vacant. All these again for the question is for the proper land sales in Tuxedo or South Tuxedo. These would all be vacant land parcels when they sold. Is that correct? 519 Kelvin, 10 Avonlea Court. Off the top of my head, these would probably not be new developments. So I would imagine the house was torn down by the purchaser. In some cases, someone can tear down a house and market the land for sale. I don't know that for sure. I can tell you Ike Kraut from my memory is a newly subdivided area, so it would have a clean slate, no house on it. But the other two, I would have to do some checking, but I would imagine the house was on there. So Avonlea Court is that not another new cul-de-sac within the area? Close to Ike Kraut?
No, the only ones I know for sure off my memory, because I don't have my computerized map here, off my memory are Ike Kraut. Avonlea Court, I'm not 100% sure. May or may not be, but I mean, it's about 30 grand to mow down a house these days. So give or take 30 grand, I guess, if we're not sure which ones had homes and which ones didn't.
Okay. But again, what we're looking at is, so in one case, in the land in Old Tuxedo, we're looking at improved sites. And then when we're looking at land sales within Tuxedo or South Tuxedo, we're looking at clear vacant land parcels. Is that a fair statement? In most cases, would that not be a fair statement to make?
It's a fair statement, but in a developed neighborhood, land sales, you look at any appraisal theory, if you look at AIC standards, they're gonna say that's a land sale. Someone buys a house with the intent to tear it down to reconstruct, it is a valid land sale. Now, I wouldn't use a one-off to establish market value, one sale, you need a handful of them. So, a few years back, we had the oddball sale in there where we would go, well, was this a one-off? But when you got 4 or 5 of them, they're no longer one-offs. They become part of the marketplace.
All right. Thank you very much. That concludes my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Palenque, did you have any questions?
No questions on this rebuttal. No questions.
I have no questions. If you would like to present your rebuttal, Mr. Van Fusion.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. If the board can turn with me to page 3. So again, I think some of this has already been alluded to by the assessor in their presentation in regards to the Comp 1 and Comp 3, 217 Lamont Boulevard and 132 Gurton Boulevard. But I think there's probably merit in just going through and providing a little bit of additional information. So on page 3 here, we just provide our summary of rebuttal evidence. So we'll be talking and providing some information on the property at 217 Lamont Boulevard, 132 Gurton, as well as some discussion about 206 Lamont Boulevard. If the board can turn with me to page 4, we'll get started. So here we have 217 Lamont Boulevard. We can see this house. Again, this would be very stately. Obviously, you can see there's been a high degree of finish within the house, a lot of detail put in, state of the art, I believe superior craftsmanship as it's been indicated. We can see it's 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom, which is more compared to the subject property. If we go on page 5, we just have an outlay of the various rooms within the house, or the various rooms within the house. And then if we move to page 6, we can see some of the interior finishes. So on page 6, you can see, again, this is not what you would expect for a typical home. This is certainly a cut above the rest in terms of what these finishes are looking like. We provided those interior photos, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, and page 10 for the board's consideration. So really what we're looking at is, how does this property compare to what we'd expect in the market? The assessor has already alluded to it, the fact that this really is a pretty spectacular home. So again, it would be our position that the sale price provided for 217 Lamont really is would not be a good reflection of what the subject property would sell for. That would be, certainly something to consider. Now, again, I recognize, cognizant of the board's position on equity. So we're not looking at providing equity, but one thing I'd like to draw the board's attention to, if we go to page 11. So this is the assessment for 217 Lamont Boulevard. I understand that the board is not allowed to look at equity. What we just want to bring out here is the fact that the property has been assessed at $2,694,000. The sale price of this property was over $3 million. So we're looking at about a $400,000 difference there. Again, we're not using this to support a value for a property. Really what we're saying is, even within the city's model, the value isn't even close to what that property is. This really suggests that that sale has some additional features that is not correctly being captured within the model. So again, this puts further doubt into the comparability, or how much weight should be placed on this sale when determining what the subject property would sell for, especially since we see that property has so many additional features and is kind of a cut above the rest. The board turns with me to page 12. We have 206 Lamont Boulevard. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find a lot of information on this property. One thing, if the board will turn with me to page 13, I'd just like to highlight. So again, very similar to what we had talked about for 217 Lamont. When we take a look at the assessed value, and again, just to be clear, we're not stating that we're looking at the assessed value in any way, but we're just looking at how does this line up with the sale price. So the assessed value on this property is $2,135,000. The sale price of this property is $2.54 million. So again, we're looking at a difference of about $400,000 there. So again, when we take a look at these sales and we see the assessments coming out from the model being so different in terms of that price, it really brings the question, how typical or how much weight can we place on this sale to actually use it as a valid market comparable? It's really our position that when we take a look at this, again, this would probably limited weight should be placed on this particular property, particularly when we see that 1984 effective year built, 2010 effective year built is always a bit of a tricky thing. So again, we would put limited weight. There should be limited weight put on that transaction as a market comparable. And then finally, on page 14, we have 132 Girton Boulevard. Again, we have just a picture there. So another spectacular home, already alluded to by the assessor, that this is really cut above the rest when it comes to building quality, building finish, and where this would be in the market. We can see that this property has been indicated as finest materials, luxury finishes, as indicated on page 14. Page 15 to page 20 just contains some photos for that property. And when you look through it, you can see that there is a very high level of finish within this property. So again, a lot of attention to detail, in terms of the finishes, quite a bit of money spent there. So this again, when we look at the subject property, where our properties are fairly typical property, just happens to be a little on the larger side. And when we look at this property really is a lot of time, effort, and money has been put in, which again would be, of course, reflected within the sale price of that property. So again, as already alluded to by the assessor, we wouldn't really put much weight on this. And then if we go to page 21, again, understanding the board's position on equity, we can see the assessment of this property is $2,864,000. So, we're over $750,000 lower than the sale price. So again, it just suggests that the model is not capturing all these additional features within the property that make this property really spectacular. So we really would encourage the board to put limited weight when we're looking at that property. With that, I conclude my presentation or my rebuttal, and I welcome any questions from the board or from the assessor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Goche, questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Valenti?
No questions.
Mr. Reno?
No questions.
And I have no questions. And that concludes this matter. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You take care, everyone.
Thank you. And we're just going to take a 5-minute break.
That's nice.
Thank you.
All right, what's next on the menu?
Presentation.
On
Thank you.
Victoria. Are they okay?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm just going to call this meeting back to order, and we are going to 44 Victoria Crescent. Mr. Goche, have you had any contact with the applicant?
I have not.
Okay. Did you send them an email or anything? We've had no brief from the city, correct?
No, we got it from the city, but not from the.
No, not from the applicant. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I haven't spoken. I believe it's Trevor Smith doing this one. I haven't spoke to Trevor about the property. We haven't communicated about it.
Okay. If you'd like to just read everything in, that would be terrific. Thank you.
The subject property is roll number 0800-285-0000, commonly known as 44 Victoria Crescent. It's located in the neighborhood of Victoria Crescent. The 2-story single-family home built in 2016. The living area is 4,113 square feet. It has a full basement with basement finish, 2 full baths, 3 half baths with 3 extra showers, central AC, 2 fireplaces, a multiple attached garage, no detached garages. It does have a pool, no sunroom. It's on a plot of land that's 33,223 square feet. Note that there is no sewer service to the property. I'm presenting 4 comparables today. By the way, our assessed value is $1,716,000. The four comparables are either in Pulvery, Victoria Crescent, or across the river, almost directly across the river. So please refer to the map at one on South Drive in Wildwood. They're 2-story homes. Note that comparable 4 is a 2 1-story. Single family homes. Year builds range between 42 and 2005. The effective ages range between 2002 and 2015. Sizes range between 3,624 square feet and 4,682 square feet, or sorry, 4,808 square feet. They all have either a full basement or walkout basement. Note that comparable 1 has a full and part area, and comparable 3 as well. So that would mean there would be additions on crawl space most likely. They all have basement finish. Full baths range between 1 and 2. Half baths range between 2 and 4. Extra showers range between 2 and 4. They all have central AC. All the comps have 2 fireplaces, except comparable number 4 has 1 fireplace. They all have a multiple attached garage. Note that comparable 1 also has a multiple detached garage. None of the comps have pools or sunrooms. Land size, pretty tight range. There's pretty much your typical river lots. Range of size and land is between 23,038 square feet to 31,239. They're all on the river. Note that I think comp 1, 2, and 4 also are on bus routes. Given the size of the land, it's probably less relevant. The comparables sold in either 2018 or 2021. We have sale prices that range between 1,225,000 all the way to 2,600,000. Price per square foot ranges between, at the low end, 308 a square foot, the high end 717 a square foot. Time adjusted sale prices range between 1,225,000 and 2,826,000. Providing a time adjusted sale price per square foot range between $308 a square foot to $780 a square foot. I'm recommending to maintain the assessed value as supported by the comparables and the cost approach. Note that the current owner purchased the land in 2012 for $675,000, so plus demolition costs, there was a house there. And I just breeze through the cost approach. It's
sorry, I'll stop you there.
That's okay. It's good enough.
That's
Okay,
great. Thank you very much. And as noted, the applicant did not make an appearance.
Okay.
Nor was there any contact made.
Okay.
And this hearing is concluded. We have heard all the matters on the docket this morning. And I'd like to thank Mr. Gauthier and Jess Winter. Thank you.